where everybody is listed.
Hi, Mike, MetroDoc, and Pip. I think that's everybody that's there at the moment.
Oh, Pip, knock, knock. Who's there, Pip?
Oh, what happened?
Pepperoni.
Why did the order
All right,
of everything?
I'm geting called
Okay.
by someone right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can either join. So my meeting is from 1:30 to 2 Pacific time, which is 3:30 to 4 my time, which is 4:30 to 5. I think I'll be available from like 5 to 5:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to hop
be
on, or
here.
do you want me to not worry about it?
Yeah, no, hop on.
Yeah, hop on, and then we'll just we'll
We'll
hold
save
off
those,
on the
those ones for
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Is all my audio and everything good?
So it's good. All good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm gonna just take myself. Can I just? Oh no, I got to use my mic. All right. I'll have to get out of the room and come back.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see
All
you
right.
later.
See you guys in a bit.
Yep.
Bye.
He's just too darn busy.
I know.
He's just too darn
at that guy.
popular.
Hey, you know my. Oh, never mind. I forgot we're on air.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well.
Yeah, we've got to stop discussing your medical issues on air, Jeff.
And all my other issues in my life, my love life, or lack thereof.
I gave you an out there, and you completely ignored it.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, you're right. That's what I mean. My medical. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's too bad I can't pick up on these things
Yeah.
because I'm just too
No, no.
slow.
I was just going to say.
66 years old and I can't think straight anymore. I should sit back, relax. Electronic devices powered on. That's what I
Yeah,
should do.
do that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Are you having some of your regular coffee there?
I'm just having the Nespresso Vertuo
Okay.
coffee because it's very quick to make.
Got it.
Oh my God.
Oh.
The coffee flavored ice cream or whatever.
Speaking of
it's called,
medical
milkshake.
issues, Tim Van Ram's at a medical
Secretly
conference.
listening
I
to
didn't know
APG
he
while
was.
at a medical conference.
Yeah. Is
Okay,
he-
doctor.
Is it? No. Is this
Van
like
Ram?
is this like one of Steffi's conferences?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, well
Yeah.
done. That was good. I wonder if I do that.
I've got mine turned off, so it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Inadvertently.
Nix did it last night with a thumb. He did the thumb.
Well, hey, Tim, we have your feedback
Yeah.
that we're going to cover today, hopefully.
And we found out why I didn't get it because I wasn't getting any. I
can
haven't
blame
had
me.
any for a long time.
Well,
That's a
Don't-
whole other story. Anyway,
well
we
I'm
found,
in that same boat.
we found your original submission, but we made sure
Yeah.
it was on today's show.
If you're
That's a-
wondering why we were ignoring all of your feedback submissions, Tim, it's because, well, we just don't like you. No,
That's
because
what he
we,
thought. He told me he thought he'd been blackballed, and I told him
Sorry.
that he had been, but still, we would still.
it kind of inadvertently blackballed. Everybody's feedback submissions were blackballed because when I added AJ to the list of people getting feedback, the rule that I created to forward it to him, apparently, I don't know if by default or whatever, it says, after this rule is done, then don't do any more.
So Nick was still
Well,
getting them.
everybody. Well, Nick, his is somehow on a different mechanism that he's getting. I don't
I'm
know
better
how.
than everyone else.
Apparently,
see.
I don't know.
Hi,
But
Donna
anyway,
Rose.
everybody else, including Evernote and Liz and pretty much everybody else, Steph, we're not getting anything after. But everything was getting to AJ. AJ was getting everything, and Captain Nick was getting everything.
I was very
we never
depressed. I
told
kept thinking,
anybody.
oh my gosh, we're not getting any feedback here for a couple of few
Okay.
weeks. Like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
And
I said,
I'm,
what are
I'm
they
thinking to
talking about?
myself, Liz is getting paranoid.
I
There's
know.
all this bloody feedback.
Well, I am paranoid, but that's another issue. But
Don't be so shy, Nick. You can show yourself on the video.
If I touch that cable, off it goes. That's annoying.
Is that OBSBot thing that you have?
Yep. Well, it's
Should
the
it?
cable, I think, is
Yeah,
the problem. But
now he's on a different camera, isn't he?
Yeah, you should have
yes,
should have
I
gone
am.
for the one that I'm using. It's better.
No, I like
Insta.
mine. It's very good, Osbot. It's much better.
You guys
Yeah,
have
I don't have those problems.
dueling.
Well,
These
it's
guys
got
are having
different
dueling
cables.
equipment, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nick needs to take a special trip over to B&H Photo.
Yeah, I certainly do.
What are they suffering? Do they need an
Yes,
infusion?
they're going to
of,
go into Chapter 11 because
cash?
he doesn't go anymore.
Okay, let me check out let's see what we
Let
got there from
me
Hillel. There's Hillel.
Entertain you.
Coming to us from the down.
So where's that AJ? I guess he should
Oh,
be
I
home
love it.
soon.
Great, Hillel. That's perfect. I'm glad that I didn't come up with something. It wouldn't have been as clever. Wouldn't have been as
Oh, I
clever.
can't wait. I'm not gonna read it ahead
Don't
of
read it.
time.
Don't-
No, I'm
don't-
not gonna
don't-
read it.
don't even-
I
don't
want to
even
be
think about it.
surprised.
Okay. Right. Okay. So Camacho is not going to be with us right away, so we can
No, but
I'll skip
AJ
over him.
I would think is well.
Oh, you know what? He's probably not going to join us until later too because of his job thing.
Right, he finished
Right.
at 3:30, so however long it takes him to get home
Okay.
from 3:30.
Well, we'll do our
Maybe
original
4:30. Yeah.
intro and
Gee.
say, hey, we're going to probably have
Yep.
a couple more joining us as the show's in progress. All right.
Nick's still fiddling with his equipment, if you'll
Well,
pardon the
my
expression.
camera's still gafut.
Kafut.
I'm telling you, Insta 360 is the way to go. I'm trying to make him mad.
I know. You can tell. Steam
Instead of that
started,
piece
steam
of
started to
crap
come
that
out of
you
his
bought.
ears.
Piece of crap thing that you bought.
Yeah.
Stupid.
He's loyal to his Ostabot or whatever the heck it's called.
Obsbot. I know it's a weird name.
Obsbot.
It's even a stupid name. Well, so is Insta 360. Actually.
Well,
So,
I wouldn't
okay.
mind an Insta 360 because I quite like the idea of doing 360-degree video.
It's not 360 though. It's the company is Insta 360, but this camera is not a 360 camera.
I would want a 360, you see.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't
No.
want you to have one.
We don't want that.
No.
Why not?
Because then, it's hard enough for you to focus on what we're talking about on the show, and then you would be
Yeah.
completely worthless.
I enjoy
Not just
playing
mostly.
with my toys.
Why don't you just order him one, Jeff, and get it sent there?
Yeah.
Insta
I might have to do that.
360, please.
Okay.
Right. How
Are
do
we
I-
getting close? Are we going to go?
Yeah,
We can
I
do
think,
something now?
The StreamYard isn't recognizing the camera.
And StreamYard's not letting me log into the chat, which is fine.
Oh, well,
It's a Google/StreamYard
you have to
thing.
sign in with your Google because you're a guest instead of,
Yeah.
unless you want to leave and come in as me.
No,
wait, I don't know
no.
if that works anymore.
No,
'Cause
I tried two different Gmail accounts. It didn't like either of them. So it's a who knows what it is, but it's not important.
Okay. Well, you can express yourself using words
Orally.
to talk to people. Yeah,
Or
orally.
just-
There we go.
Comment in the private chat.
Yeah, but the only people that are going to see that are weans here on
Yeah,
the,
and then you got to read it.
okay. Well, you'll have to say, "Hey, look at the private chat," because I will not see it.
I won't
I
do
will
that.
definitely see it.
No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Liz might see it.
I try, but
I won't.
very
Because
trying.
okay, I'm going to do my best to keep my screen up that has StreamYard so that
That was a good thing.
I can see what's going on.
Okay. What's going on?
What's going on,
Hey,
babe?
baby, what's going on?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm sorry we have not acknowledged everyone there.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, I didn't, but now I'm acknowledging everybody. Hello. Glad to have you here with us today.
Very
You mean a
glad.
lot to us.
Yeah.
I love you, every single one of you, even Tim,
Yeah.
which is really saying a
It's
lot.
at a medical conference, which is
A
very,
medical
very
conference.
suspicious. Yeah.
I didn't realize that Tim was in the medical field.
I
didn't
didn't
realize he
either.
was a doctor. or
No,
whatever.
he's the patient. Everyone
Yes.
else is looking at him while he has his testicles fondled by the doctor.
Oh, please do not share that video.
Ouch.
Tim. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready. This is Liz's subtle way of saying, Jeff,
No,
would you
I don't-
get
I
going?
don't try to be subtle.
Oh, I know. Well, okay, not so subtle way. but
Subtle's not my middle name.
Subtle, yeah. No. I spent almost a week with her at the cottage this year.
Have you
so-
recovered yet?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, guess what? Nobody asked me, but I remembered.
To turn your recorder on? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good job.
Oh my God. Tim's actually on the board of the local hospital. Now that's scary.
It is. What's going on? Why can't I zoom in on this?
Thank you, MetroDoc. Yes.
What? Oh. Oh, I see why. Delete selected. Oh. Okay. Save all. Sorry.
My left eye has stopped focusing. Really weird.
Are you having
What?
a stroke? Should we call
no.
999?
Probably. Well, if you do that in the States or Canada, it's going to be very interesting. I have no idea where the call will go.
We'll have to dial 999.
Yeah.
You have to dial +44999, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you'll be dead by then, so.
Yeah, with any luck, I don't wish to be resuscitated in order
Okay.
to be back on the
You're
show.
already dead by then.
You don't want to wake up to us, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I certainly won't think I've gone to heaven.
Definitely not.
I'm not dead. Yeah. He said he's not dead. Yes, he is. I'm not. He isn't. Well, he will be soon. He's very ill. I'm getting.
See how quickly I found that?
I know, that was
I'm impressed.
impressive.
Good job.
It was very impressive.
Almost
Okay,
like it was a button.
All right, let's see. Do we need to do a Radio Roger sound check?
You're
Oh,
listening to
that's
the
probably
Airline
good.
Pilot Guy Show.
The view
That's
from
good.
our side of the
Good.
cockpit door.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Okay, and then Liz, say something on Unity so I can make sure that we're recording over there.
One moment.
Hello, hello. I see a signal on Unity. We were recording that track. Good. All systems are go.
Very good.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So you're ready, Liz, with the
I'm ready,
graphic?
Jeff.
All
I'm
right,
ready.
Let's do it.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 674.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded the week of August 18th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Get your ride and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, an F-15 ride-along passenger accidentally ejects while on the ground, and a British Airways pilot still has his job after leaving the cockpit door open during takeoff so his family could see him at the controls. Also had more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 674 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger Stern. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in news. I saw news and I thought, Radio Roger.
New York City!
That's what the button I meant to press there. Okay, welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your feedback, and we're displaying the utmost in aviation podcasting professionalism. I'm Captain Jeff, former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain, and joining me, nope, not Dr. Steph. Boy, I tell you, I'm hitting all the wrong buttons today. From his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
retired professional dog photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Oop, you were muted.
Perfect.
Hi there, Jeff. It's great to see that everything's going so smoothly.
yes, so well.
Yeah, I know. It's just This is just like a normal show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we're APG 674 now. In the United States, between 1990 and 2015, there were 1,874 commuter and air taxi accidents, of which 674 occurred in Alaska alone, highlighting a specific area of concern within aviation safety statistics. So if you fly in Alaska, be careful out there.
Well done.
All right.
That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a
Six-
lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's over a quarter in one state.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Must
very much
be
for
a load
that.
of cowboys up there.
Yeah.
Oh, there are a lot of cowboys in Alaska, for sure. All right, and oh, hang on. Wait a minute. Do you hear the water running?
I do.
Like the shower?
Someone go to the
Well,
toilet.
Is it that
I'm
time
wondering-
already?
Yeah. I'm playing this because he is a macho man too. His name is, well, let me tell you about it. When not in my shower, saving companies from themselves or using planes to save puppies, coming to us from his dungeon in the Baltimore suburbs, it's our Slack master, Hotel India 11 Echo 1, special appearance by Hello.
Greetings. And I take full responsibility for Jeff pushing all the wrong buttons because I am almost never here. So it's completely throwing his game off.
Well, yeah. Oh, thank you for taking the blame, but really, Hillel, it has nothing to do with it. It's just my brain is just like completely scattered, which it has been.
I gave you a shot there, Jeff. You know.
I know you did. I do appreciate that, but yeah, thank you for trying to save me. But no, it's all me. It's all my fault. Also joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario. Retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, the lovely Liz Piper.
Hi, guys. It's great to have Hillel here today. And
It
the
is.
And the two of you, too.
Oh, thank you.
It is. I'm
Appreciate
glad he's
that.
wearing
Thank you.
some clothes, though.
Yeah, he's not in his bathrobe or towel or whatever. He's
But
not
he looks
dripping
nice
wet.
and clean.
Yeah.
I did
But,
shower this morning.
Good.
Oh, that's good.
Good to know.
Good to know.
So
Yeah.
AJ will be joining us, and perhaps Camacho. So
Yes, we're expecting at least a couple more hosts here to join us. And in the meantime, though, I think
have a
it
good
might
show.
be. Thanks, appreciate it. It might be a good idea then for me to push this button that says news for the second time.
Stand by for news.
All right, this first one involves, well, let's see, we have several different sources and a couple of different videos, but the main clip source is from TWZ.com, and it involves an F-15 Delta, an F-15D, that was taxiing out. Looks like they were doing some kind of a ride-along kind of a mission, like a incentive ride or something. They're not absolutely sure, but it was from the 104th Fighter Wing, an F-15D Eagle. Appears to have accidentally, a backseat passenger appears to have accidentally ejected from the aircraft while it was on the ground at Barnes Air National Guard base in Westfield, Massachusetts. And let's see. So we have, as I mentioned, some video. And so, Liz, if you'll do me a favor, por favor, and we'll go ahead and play this first one, which is kind of an updated video from a CCTV camera at the base. And we can actually see the ejection sequence. Nope.
We had a pilot
Nope. Try it again.
Remember the ride-along passenger who ejected from the F-15 while it taxied? Well, we now have the footage. This video from the National Guard base's CCTV cameras was leaked, I guess. Not sure who originally posted it, but it shows just how effective these 0-0 ejection seats are, which essentially just means they work at 0 altitude and 0 airspeed as shown here. Either way, no matter how effective, I would not want to experience this. You can see how hard the backseater still hits the ground and of course how violent the ejection itself is, but definitely rare to see an ejection like this on camera.
It is. And we also have this from C.W. Lemoyne, his YouTube channel.
We had a pilot eject. Please shut down the runway.
Yeah, we are not going to use 20. Over runway 20.
PCAS. I'm on the airfield.
All right, so make the call.
A firm for a ground emergency.
Roger. Birdman, you got Siegel on the line. You all right? Yeah, Rainbow One's okay.
Mobile at Fire Department Access Road, looking to head north on Bravo.
North. Cardinal, proceed north on Bravo. Fire has been notified. Yeah, as long as you're conflicted, I would make sure you don't do it too early because you need to make sure there's a crew there that can chalk you up and all that. So. Yeah, the armed crew's working to de-arm, and then we're going to shut down right here. Copy, as long as you're chalked and everything. All right, minimum 2 hours before anything can come back on the runway. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, I'm going to pass that to the airport manager right now.
Copy that, I appreciate it. We had a pilot eject.
So there you can see missing a canopy. That's probably bad. And then you can hear him talk about he's going to go to de-arm.
They're not missing it.
And
It's right there.
he's taxiing clear. So this pretty much is after landing. There's the canopy. I wonder how much damage that did landing on top of the spine like that, because that thing is not light at all. And then you can see the poor backseater with their parachute right there and crawling in the grass. I don't know what the decision matrix was for the pilot as to whether to stop, shut down right there, or taxi clear. I'm not going to second guess that, but he does taxi clear, go to de-arm, because I guess they do. I mean, they still had to de-arm. And de-arm's right there. It's right next to the runway, so it's not like he taxied real far. But that's the video there. He's just looking over like, what did you do? Yeah, we're going to have to debrief ground ops. You can still see the smoke. So this is pretty.
Yeah.
We had a pilot.
So there we go. That again, CW Lemoyne does a YouTube channel. He's a fighter pilot with experience in a lot, and I think he's also an airline pilot, right? But anyway, he has a vast experience in several fighter type jets. And anyway, so thank you, CW Lemoyne, for letting us play a little snippet of that video that you prepared regarding this F-15D accidental ejection. Now, we here at APG have a former fighter pilot on staff who flew the F-4 and for the RAF and the F-18, FA-18, I guess, for the RAAF. And so what do you think, Nick? Has this ever happened to you?
No, thank the Lord. Yeah. Although I've done plenty of, well, we just call them PAX rides. So PAX passenger, and experience rides. So I think the important thing is that everyone gets fully briefed, but it is an intense sort of few hours of preparing to go fly in one of these kind of jets. All the kitting up is very odd, getting fitted for your safety equipment. You can't drill too much information in because after a while, their brains will just stop absorbing information. So, it's quite likely that this poor passenger was perhaps a little bit overawed and forgot some of the important bits, like how to save up their seat, what not to do, etc. Now, they just taxied clear, so that actually would have been the point at which the pilot, I expect, asked the backseater to take whatever safety precautions. I'm not familiar with their seat. It's an ACES seat, so that's an advanced concept ejection seat used in quite a few American aircraft, like the F-16, the F-22, the Nighthawk, the F-117. You had it, the B-1, all that kind of stuff, and it's a very clever seat. The most aircraft, fighter aircraft with ejector seats, or any aircraft with ejector seats, use Martin Baker, but this was started off as a Boeing concept and moved on. I think it's made now by, I'm going to have to find that out. Collins make it now. So it's been through several companies that construct it. It is an enhanced seat in that it has a lot of sensors on it that try and establish what environment the seat has been used, whether it's very high level, very high speed, or in this case, pretty much 0-0. And as you can see, the seat took an interesting trajectory. So I don't know whether it's designed to do that or just the way it happened to work on this ejection, but it seemed to loop away from the aircraft, which is quite an interesting thing, because the last thing you want to do if you're in a burning aircraft is to end up descending in your parachute back into the fireball that you've just created when your aircraft blew up. So the guy ends up, or the girl, I'm not quite sure which, some distance away. But the seat separation and parachute deployment occurs all in about 2 seconds for this sort of environment. So incredibly quick. And as you can see, the occupant of the ejector seat got about 2 swings in the parachute before they crumped on the ground, and they hit the ground going at a fair lick, because these ejector seat parachutes are there to save your life. They're not there to enable you to do a nice soft landing and even, do a running landing and walk away. They're barely guidable, that sort of thing. So they're very small diameter, and they don't retard you as much as a sports parachute would, for example. So despite the fact that on a rocket seat there is much more progressive acceleration, there still is an awful lot of G imposed on you. And if it was an unexpected ejection, the occupant probably didn't have time to adopt the approved posture for an ejection. If you're doing a premeditated ejection, you squeeze your ass back into the back of the seat, you straighten your back, put your head back, try and get your spine into a straight position, a normal curve, because otherwise, as you eject, you'll fold forwards and with a lot of force until your head's between your knees, and that can usually crack a few vertebrae. In fact, just the force of the ejection will compress a few vertebrae, as our friend Captain Nige would tell us if he was in the chat room, because he's done an ejection in I think a Mark 10 rocket-assisted seat. It's the seat also has the rocket on the base of the ACES seat is guided to a certain extent, whereas on the Martin Baker it's fairly static and just gets you clear. So you do get vectored to a certain extent on the ACES seat. Anyway, it worked beautifully, but why did the guy go? So the ACES seat has got a pair of handles. Is the one that's in the F-15. The F-16 is same seat but different firing handle. There's a pair of handles on either side of your legs. So on the front outboard side portion of the seat, and you only actually have to lift one of them because they're locked together in a mechanism. So if you lift one, the other one comes up as well. So you don't need to grab them both necessarily. You can continue to fly the airplane and just lift one of them if that's the situation you're in. That will fire. Now, first the canopy flies off, as you saw, and then the seat will go up the rail. A gun will fire the seat out of the aircraft initially, and that's a telescopic tube full of explosive, which will give you the initial boost. And once you're clear, a lanyard pulls free, and the rocket pack will then take over and continue to boost you to a suitable altitude for your parachute to open. Notice that there's a big stream behind the occupant as they clear, and that is the drogue being forcibly dragged out of the pack where the parachute is, usually by firing a bullet, a weight which is attached to the parachute, and then very quickly it drags, because you can't have any delay in this kind of ejection, this situation. The main parachute is dragged out and it very quickly inflates. So nice to see everything works. Is it the only time that we've had this similar thing? No, the American forces have had a number of passengers or non-qualified aircrew eject themselves, as have the Royal Air Force. I think we've only had one where we had a guy in the back of a Hawk who was getting a fun ride, and he was, I think, a fighter controller, if I'm not mistaken. He ejected himself while they were airborne, and the guy flew the airplane back without a backseater. And the French, we covered a French one, that a French chap that ejected just a year or so ago, and he was turned upside down by one of their guys who was an aerobatic pilot, and he wasn't strapped in properly, and he ended up trying to restrain himself, and he grabbed the handle and ejected himself instead. So yeah, it does happen. The passengers are not particularly
Remember
familiar.
the ride-along passenger who ejected.
And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm trying to interrupt you so I can play this in the background, and I'm trying to find how I can do the volume or
Remember the ride-along passenger who ejected from the F-15 while taxiing? Well, we now have the footage.
I'm sorry. This is just not working out, the technical aspect of this.
Anyway.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So,
you keep going then.
So it has happened before. And luckily, I mean, from the ejections, no one has been severely injured, although it can happen. It's wearing a lot of difficult equipment when you're doing one of these flights. And I gather the American forces actually lost a passenger. He died because he suffocated, very sadly, because he wasn't familiar with operating the oxygen equipment. So he got himself into a bit of a problem and passed away, which is very sad. So, it's not a no-risk situation when you accept what do they call them, incentive rides? I think they're usually awarded to people who've done good things. And, this is a prize they've won, getting a trip in an F-15. And I think this particular incentive passenger got more than he bargained
Disincentive. I think that all the sources that I read said they were not absolutely sure whether or not this was an incentive ride or a senior officer or something or other, kind of ride, whatever. But as you said, it's some kind of a reward for something that this person or these people did. I don't know. Do I need to play it again now that you're finished? Probably don't need to. Okay, let me play that one that we have where we actually see the trajectory of this thing, okay? And I'll see if I can figure out how to turn the volume off once I start playing this. Yes, please. All right. Come on.
Remember the ride-along passenger
Yeah, I
who
remember
ejected
it.
from the F-15 while it taxied? Well, we now have the footage. This video from the National Guard base's CCTV cameras was leaked.
Okay, finally. I got to get this window to a certain size before the volume slider shows up. All right, so let's watch that. And as Captain Nick mentioned, it's just a regular parachute. It's not a fancy
No,
sport
it's not a
parachute.
wing or anything clever
No.
like that.
And it's like jumping. We did parachute landing fall training in the Air Force, and with that kind of a parachute, I believe it's like jumping off like a 10, 11 foot tall wall. So it doesn't bring you down gently. at all. Let me try.
No,
to
we
play this
used
again.
to get a lot of parachute training, and but they never actually let us try it for real, jumping out of the back of a Hercules, say, unless it was into water, because they said chances are half of you will break an ankle on your first parachute jump.
Yeah.
So if your first parachute jump is a real ejection, you're probably statistically better off doing that than you would be if you trained for it.
Yeah, in my experience, it was they took us up in they had some kind of a vehicle and a rope, and then tied to your harness or something, and they drag you along, or they go a certain speed, and then you are lifted up, kind of like when you see it like beachfront parachute rides, that kind of thing, behind a boat. And then there's, I think they call them alligator clips or some kind of clips that we had to strike, and then that released the cable and allowed us to fall. And I think we were only up, I don't know, 100, 200 feet, something like that. Not very high, but it gave us the actual real sensation of what it feels like to actually hit the ground and practice our parachute landing falls, our PLFs. And I think every class has at least one person either severely sprain or break their ankle. So that's the downside of that kind of training. But anyway, wow. Okay. So that is, oh yeah, look at that. AJ has joined us. Welcome, sir. Good to see you. And I think that you might be muted.
Hello.
There we go.
Hello.
And got Hillel right next to you over there.
Hello.
All right. And all right, I guess we can. Yeah, let's skip that for now and see if Camacho joins us. Now we have 3 people that can probably speak pretty intelligently about Mosaic. All right, well, thank you very much, Captain Nick, for your expertise. And we're going to go. It's doing it again. The Evernote sorting keeps sorting to, I don't know what it's sorting, but instead of title, it keeps. Is it just me, or are you guys seeing the same thing? Okay, that's right. You have all yours.
Mine is sorted correctly.
Yours is.
Mine just went from being sorted correctly to not sorted correctly, and I wasn't even in that window.
Oh, weird. Okay. Well, now I have it so that I can go in sequential order. And Captain Nick, just to let you know, we are not hearing you.
Yeah, mine's done it twice since we started the show.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Oh, it just did it again. It resorted to.
So it did.
What? Why is it doing that? I don't want you to do that. Okay, let's continue now with this. No, I'm sorry. C, I guess we're going to. Let's now continue with this from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Yay. Let's see. Frontier Airlines plane damaged after air conditioning hose gets sucked into the engine, which really, really sucks. Yep. Passengers on board a Frontier flight from Charlotte to LaGuardia faced a lengthy delay on Saturday after an air conditioning hose got sucked into one of the 2 engines of the Airbus A320, which was due to operate the flight. Frontier Flight 3134 had already boarded, and then several eyewitnesses caught the extraordinary moment that the ground air supply hose was sucked into the engine. So let me have some video regarding that, and if you'll put it, thank you very much, and here we go. I hope now the volume's working.
Engine sucks the air-conditioned hose.
So this, whatever this is, just got stuck in here, and the wing, it's trash.
Not the wing, it's the engine.
Look at that. Look at that.
Not good.
That engine's fried, I think.
Yeah, it's fried, man.
The colors definitely got busted.
You ain't going anywhere.
Metal flew off.
That's not good.
Is it fried?
Oh, I wish I caught that. Oh, we're not getting on this flight.
Yeah.
This flight is not taking off.
But he's already on that flight.
Yeah, he is.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
It was.
I'll tell you how dumb. I got somebody in the terminal, passenger terminal, taking some video. Oh yeah, it's going to
That's
be
way too much liability
It's going to be a lot of money.
for them to try to fix that plane. There's no way we're getting on that plane.
No, you're right. They can't just go out there and fix it. Hey Bob, bring a wrench. We need to fix that
they don't have
engine.
another one.
Don't have enough.
No,
Bring a
I said
hammer.
The other one's going to
Yeah,
Philly.
I was going to say,
Scheduled for
you need
Philly.
a couple of hammers to do that.
Okay, and the problem, of course, the problem is they suck the AC hose in, but the problem is with an operation like Frontier operating out of Charlotte, they only have like maybe 2 gates and 2 jets there at the time.
Probably less than 2 mechanics.
Probably 0 mechanics. It's probably all contract, right? Anyway, so that's unfortunate. I don't know if it happened as they were taxiing into the gate and somebody had laid out the air conditioning hose and maybe they weren't expecting the left engine to be operating because a lot of times, they'll just operate the, wait a minute, no, it would be the left side operating. They should know that because they usually if they shut down an engine, they'll try to do the one that's on the side where all the ramp workers are going to be opening up doors and such, So I don't know. It depends on the actual airplane itself as far as single engine taxi procedures, whether, which engine you shut down. But anyway, it was not good. No. Anything else to say? Do we have anything else from Frontier at all? Oh, do we? Okay, let me go to D. This is a human interest story, I think, involving Frontier. Frontier pilot Andrew Brenneman, 25 years old, apparently doesn't have a lot of wisdom for his age, who joined the airline as a first officer in 2023. He started dating a Frontier flight attendant in November of 2024. But just 5 months later, she broke off the relationship when she accused him of assaulting her. In one incident, Brenneman's ex-girlfriend said he threw her to the ground before putting his hands around her neck and scratching and bruising her. Brenneman is also accused of sending malicious text messages to his flight attendant lover. Brenneman's ex-girlfriend reported...
I said, sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, it does. It does. Or, maybe she liked that. I don't know. Brenneman's ex-girlfriend reported the alleged assault to police in Kentucky, where he's based, and on May 9th, she was due to attend court in Kenton County to secure an emergency protective order against him. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, however, a day before this court hearing, Brenneman allegedly called in a fake bomb threat against the plane that his girlfriend was traveling on to attend the hearing. That's brilliant. The bomb threat allegedly specifically named the flight attendant.
A bit of a giveaway.
Good. Resulting in the police having her removed before takeoff and questioned by police. It was, however, quickly established that she was innocent and she was allowed to get on another flight with a different airline to attend the hearing, just in case that guy had any pull with anybody else, I guess, at Frontier. I don't know. It was, however, quickly established that I just read that. The Cincinnati Enquirer spoke with the flight attendant who says she told police she believed Brenneman fabricated the whole story, hoping the police would restrain her and keep her from attending the court hearing. Yep. On July 4, Brenneman was arrested at his home address. He has since been arraigned on domestic violence and harassing communications charges. And he was also suspended by Frontier once the emergency protective order was granted, although it remains unclear whether he's still working at the airline. His ex-girlfriend quit her job with Frontier in July. Well, here's a case of being really, really stupid. Number one, for just treating another human being like that. That's the first stupid thing that he did. The second is by doing this false report of a bomb on board an airplane just so she wouldn't. Did he think that he could call in a bomb threat every single time that she boarded an airplane for this kind of hearing? I don't think he really thought this through. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else to add or take away?
Very similar bomb threat to my aircraft once trying to get to Washington. And,
so from one of your lovers too?
Yeah, or did you?
Exactly.
Was it some kind of hearing that you were involved in?
Someone wanted to stop one of the cabin crew from going on the trip so that they could spend the weekend together. So he phoned in a bomb threat.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and it was really before we'd even we were on a remote stand, so we weren't really going to push back. But it just caused an enormous amount of delay and messing about while everyone checked and the threat was assessed. Eventually, they said, "You're clear to go." We, given this one a green light, and that was at that point that a couple of the passengers decided that they didn't want to fly now, having sat and thought about it for 2 hours, when we could have got them and their bags off easily. Now we had an additional delay because now they wanted to get off, and now we had to find their bags and get that off. So, it can be very frustrating, these sort of events.
Yeah, let's go to G. Yeah, I was going to tell you beforehand that, we can skip that E. I don't know if that's really that interesting. Okay. Let's cover this next, item number G, or item 01G. A bag for life. This one from aerosociety.com. And we're going to be talking about this incident that occurred at one of the Moscow airports, the Sheremetyevo Airport. I'm not sure. I know I butchered that. Sorry, Pilot Pip in our chat room, who knows how to pronounce it correctly because I think he's flown in and out of that airport.
He's just Russian.
Or is he Russian? Yeah, he's a Russian spy? Okay.
Yeah, he's Russian. Yeah.
The article starts off, what impact did cabin baggage have on the evacuation of Aeroflot Flight 1492? Oh, that's right. I was going to play. If you'll put up the keynote then I'm going to play this in the background while I'm reading this. Here we go. Nope. Boom. Okay. So what impact did cabin baggage have on the evacuation of Aeroflot Flight 1492, in which 41 of the 78 occupants perished? Nicholas J. Butcher and Dr. John Barnett reviewed the accident report. The publication of the final accident report by the Russian Interstate Aviation Committee into the Moscow May 2019 accident involving Aeroflot Sukhoi Superjet 100 Flight 1492 has again highlighted the issue of cabin baggage in an emergency evacuation. In the early days of commercial aviation, open hat racks in aeroplanes were the only available cabin stowage for carry-on items, and these were limited to soft items such as hats and coats. Over time, passengers traveled with larger and heavier items, and overhead storage bins were introduced in the 50s. In the mid-70s, manufacturers started to install overhead bins with compartment doors, which could be latched for takeoff, landing, and during turbulence. This became a regulatory requirement in the 1980s. Passengers taking cabin baggage with them in an emergency evacuation is nothing new, but this is now a common event, sadly. To speed up turnaround times, operators encourage baggage to be stored in passenger cabins, and the value and importance of items in cabin baggage, such as passports, electronic equipment, and medications, have increased significantly in recent years. The number of duty-free shops further contributes to cabin stowage problems. Unfortunately, passengers taking cabin baggage with them in an emergency evacuation has almost become the norm rather than the exception. However, prior to the Moscow incident, the phenomena had resulted in few injuries and no fatalities. That's probably down to good fortune rather than good judgment, and slightly different scenarios or deteriorating situations might have led to different outcomes. A significant issue is that passengers cannot accurately assess how serious a situation might be when an emergency evacuation is ordered by the aircraft crew. And then they kind of go into a little bit more detail about this particular incident and what happened. And Captain Nick, you said that you were reading this, and there were some quotes, I think, from some of the passengers about other passengers and what they were doing and how their actions, behaviors ended up inhibiting the safe evacuation of passengers and resulted in their fatalities.
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. This was the first accident or incident where The actions of the passengers during the evacuation almost certainly contributed to the death of the people behind them trying to get off. And this is highlighted by these statements from some of the passengers, generally speaking, in the seats near the front of the aircraft, because it was the poor passengers down the back end, the ones that were being impeded. So I watched some passengers getting their belongings out of overhead bins and walking with them along the aisle. Some belongings were impressive in size. That is, they were of the maximum allowed in the dimensions to bring on into the aircraft. To my mind, they interfered with the passenger evacuation. And another passenger said, on the way to the exit, I saw, the name is redacted, who was getting his carry-on luggage out of the overhead bin. Thereby, he prevented other passengers from advancing to the exit. So apart from this chap, there were other passengers unknown to me who also took out their carry-on luggage from the overhead bins. Thereby, they made an impassable jam in the aisle to the exit. Now, this evacuation is contrasted very much by the Japanese Airlines Airbus 350 accident in Tokyo, where, confronted by an intense fire, virtually all the passengers followed the cabin crew instructions, leaving their cabin baggage behind. And if the passengers are determined to take their bags with them in an evacuation, there's very little that the crew can effectively do to stop them. Any physical intervention to remove cabin baggage is likely to make things worse, as an argument may well ensue, which will delay things even more. However, passengers cannot accurately assess how dangerous an emergency situation is. So when ordered to evacuate, they must follow instructions, and the dynamics of an evacuation might well change. From what seems like a benign situation, it can rapidly develop into a severe emergency. National aviation authorities, the writers of this report, should urgently investigate how this life-threatening issue might be addressed and controlled in terms of both airworthiness and operational requirements. This should include considering the installation of lockable overhead bins where the largest and heaviest cabin baggage is stowed, as well as imposing greater restrictions on the size of items taken to the cabin. And we have discussed this in the past, and some people have expressed a doubt as to whether it would work, such that if the bins are locked, people might then stand in the aisle trying to open the bins without realizing they're locked, or try and force the lock. But my feeling is this would be one of the few ways of preventing people from trying to get their luggage. If it was announced that whenever the seatbelt signs were on, for example, all the lockers, overhead lockers, would be locked, and they were clearly labelled when, like a toilet door, when they were locked and unlocked, and that there was no way that a passenger could override that, then people might shrug their shoulders and say, well, it's better to get off the airplane now. I can't get my bag, so I'm going to do that. Doesn't stop them from grabbing the bags that they've stowed on the floor, of course, under the seat in front or whatever, but that's generally speaking much smaller.
And main man Micah says, is it time to ban carry-ons for safety reasons? And we've had, as Captain Nick just said, we've had this discussion before, and a lot of people out there in the world of aviation safety have had this discussion, and there are pros and cons against the carry-on thing. Hillel, what do you think about this? How do you feel about carry-ons and the potential for banning them? And is there any chance of that ever happening?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to ever be able to ban carry-ons because there's just going to be too many exceptions. There's going to be a way of getting a waiver or something for somebody who has a legitimate reason for having the carry-on. So it's going to end up being uncontrollable. And I think from a practical standpoint, let alone a legal standpoint, I just don't think banning all carry-ons, especially, just because that there's going to be an exception. It's going to be challenged in court, and so it's just a non-starter.
This is my emotional support carry-on.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the number of exceptions are just going to be too great and too loose, so that there's going to be essentially unenforceable. So.
And my man Micah also says another option is to charge high prices for carry-ons and make checked bags free. That would also speed up boarding. Yeah, again, I'm not so sure that I think the airlines like the fact that there is less checked baggage and more carry-on baggage because the passengers do all the work and not the people that they have to pay on the ramp to load and unload the bags. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I agree that would be an option, and that I think would be a good option if everybody was monetarily forced to just check their bags for free and leave everything else, out of the passenger cabin. So.
Yeah, obviously the checked bag fees are a huge source of revenue, which is, one could almost say that the activist investor that forced all the changes to happen at Southwest is because there was they're complaining that there's too much money left on the table for the free bags. And that was such an enormous amount of money being left on the table that they were willing to destroy the company to force them essentially to start charging for bags, which they did.
Yeah. Well, that was just one of many things I think that has led Southwest's reputation to go down the tubes a little bit. Not that they're bad, but you know what I mean. Yeah. All right. Anything else to add regarding that? Okay. I'd like to do this one, Liz, Jay. Okay. All right. This next one is from the Aviation Herald. It's a preliminary report on an incident that occurred back in February of 2024. A Marathon Embraer ERJ 195 on behalf of Air Serbia. Registration Oscar Yankee Golf Delta Charlie, performing Flight 324 from Belgrade, Serbia to Dusseldorf, Germany, with 106 people on board. They lined up on runway 30 left at taxiway Delta 5. The takeoff runway available was 1,273 meters, and they departed at 17:38 local time, but overran the end of the runway before becoming airborne. They ended up colliding with high-precision approach lights and some ILS equipment, instrument landing system equipment, and they had to come back. And there's a picture right now in the video, which we'll have in the show notes, of some damage to the side of the aircraft, the ERJ 195. Let's see. We also have, I'll hang off. I'll delay showing the video here in a second here. Let's see. Let me read what happened here. According to ATC recordings, the aircraft was cleared to line up on runway 30 left at Delta 6. However, the aircraft entered the runway at Delta 5. ATC queried the crew and cleared the aircraft to backtrack to runway Delta 6. The crew, however, replied they were able to depart on 1,273 meters from Delta 5. The aircraft subsequently was cleared to take off. Shortly after takeoff, the crew advised they needed to go back immediately. They hit something on departure. Let's see, I think I have a little bit more. Oh, for those that wondering, 1,273 meters, what that is. What was that again, Liz? 4,176 feet. Okay. Let's see, they found tire tracks past the end of the paved surface, colliding with a number of approach lights. ILS monitoring antenna, 145 meters past the paved surface. Some parts of the antenna were found 175 meters past the paved surface. Let's see, on August 19, 2025, so just a couple of days ago, Serbia's investigatory agency released their preliminary report in Serbian. I'm thinking that Simon's probably not happy about that. So let's see. ATC offered the flight to vacate the runway via Delta 4 and then taxi back to Delta 6, but the captain refused and made a new computation, changing the runway from 30 left Delta 6 to 12 right Delta 5. Ruh-roh. Okay. That's
really
the opposite direction.
Ah.
So that is probably a key clue here to the story. Convincing himself that the runway length was sufficient for takeoff, he then pressured the first officer that the runway length was sufficient. The first officer succumbed and did not cross-check the computation on his laptop. They commenced takeoff on runway 30 left from Delta 5, they're using the data from 12 right Delta 5, without applying changes to the flex setting, so they're taking off at a reduced power setting. And then, let's see, going through about 80 knots, the captain noted that the runway was very short. Yeah. The first officer agreed, but did not adjust power settings. Okay. And so they kept it back at reduced power. Between V1 and VR, the decision speed and then the rotate speed, the first officer began the rotation, raising the nose to 10 degrees nose up, which resulted in a tail strike, likely because they're well below the speed that they should be. I think they impacted the antenna. Seeing the aircraft was not climbing, the first officer added power and additional trim, thus climbing the aircraft to a safe altitude. Finally, the first officer actually added more power. The investigatory agency computed that for the takeoff distance available of 1,273 meters, the maximum takeoff weight of the aircraft would have been 34,390 kilograms. The actual takeoff weight was more than 10,000 kilograms than that, at 45,737. Hence, takeoff was not possible. The minimum takeoff distance would have been 1,440 meters, hence the 12, versus the 1,273. Yeah, so another, we seem to be covering a lot of these in recent times, the miscalculations of, computations for takeoff distances and power settings, etc., speeds. Let me play some video so you can see. The first one is going to be from inside the passenger cabin on the right side. And here we go with that one. So we're going down. Can't tell that there's very little runway remaining yet. And they rotate. Oh, ow, ow, they hit something. A lot of bumping, shaking. Still pretty close to the ground. Okay. And then this next one is a CCTV video that kind of shows the airplane at the point of rotation. Yep, you could even hear the sound from that. So try it again. Yeah. I'm assuming that's the sound of the airplane. I don't know. Maybe they don't have microphones on these things. Anyway, so what do y'all think about this one?
It annoys me, Jeff, that we know these things can happen. People can make mistakes in their calculations. And the way we mitigate for that is to have both pilots do the calculations so that there's less chance of someone entering the wrong runway direction as they did in this case. What really hacks me off is when, despite that procedure that has been introduced to mitigate the threat, the captain ignored it, refused to employ this mitigation, thereby preventing, which would have prevented them from perhaps making this mistake. So he deliberately overrode the standard operating procedures in order to go with the figures that only he had calculated. And I'm going, how stupid is that? How stupid.
Or how about just like back taxiing, which is what ATC offered them to begin with. Well, why don't you just go a little bit, you missed the one you were supposed that I told you to go to, so just go back. No big deal. Or I'll even give you the option to go up to Delta 4, back taxi on the, or not back taxi, but taxi on the parallel, back to Delta 6, and then you'll have plenty of runway, and then we won't have to worry about talking about this on the Airline Pilot Guy show.
It's the three most useless things to any pilot. Altitude above you, fuel still in the truck, and runway behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm wondering, there always seems to be somebody shooting video of a takeoff or a landing, and I've got to wonder, is there some sort of morbid curiosity? You're thinking maybe they'll capture something juicy? I don't know.
I mean, like people that go to NASCAR races? Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Isn't that the point of having like a dash cam? Just to get the good stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Main man Micah says, did this guy have an antler strapped to his wings as well? No, in this case, because it was in Alaska, there was no moose antlers strapped. Yeah. No animal parts, yeah. All right, yes? Okay. Okay. We'll go with the next news item, Mike, 01 Mike from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Yay, another one. Thank you, Liz. Okay, so what does Matuz Maschinsky say? Well, he tells us about this. A British Airways pilot is already back at work after he was allegedly suspended for keeping the cockpit door open for a significant amount of time during takeoff so that family members could see him at the controls of the Boeing 777-300. Sources told The Sun that the cockpit door remained open for a significant amount of time. Okay, let's see. And that other passengers were aware that the door had not been locked shut as is required. Following the horrors of 9/11, airlines were required to install cockpit doors that are bullet and bomb-proof. The door must be shut and locked as soon as the plane pushes back from the gate, and it can only be opened for very short periods to allow pilots to use the bathroom or stretch their legs. The incident occurred on British Airways Flight 173, which departed London Heathrow at about 12 p.m. on August 6. The flight was operated by a 777-300 with a capacity for 256 passengers. The cabin crew on the 7.5-hour flight were left so disturbed by what happened that they immediately reported the incident to British Airways management once the plane landed in New York. British Airways was forced to suspend the pilot while he was still in New York, meaning that the return flight he was meant to work, leaving JFK on the night of August 7, had to be canceled. According to The Sun, the airline quickly determined that there had been no security threat and the pilot had already been returned to active duties. Oh, sounds like he maybe just got a little slap on the wrist, perhaps. In the United States, airlines are now being required to install a second cockpit door on all new airplanes because of the potential risk that terrorists could strike during the short periods when the primary door is opened during the flight. Anyway, so they talk a little bit more about the required secondary barrier. Anyway, so what do you guys think of this? Big deal? No big deal? You want people to see how great you are and what kind of great job you're doing.
When your ego overrides your common sense, I really worry.
Yep. I do too.
I was a bit surprised that they had to cancel the outbound flight because they have plenty of flights between the New York area and London, or just the UK in general, that they couldn't have put a pilot on a flight to make it work. And I know that, I mean, obviously if you're deadheading, that starts to count your crew hours or something like that. But I think, aren't there ways to get a pilot to a destination without the clock starting?
No.
No.
No, yeah. The clock
No,
is running.
you're gonna generate fatigue just traveling as a passenger. So you can't position someone then go straight to work without incurring a penalty for your duty hours.
Fair enough. I was just thinking that there's just so many airports and so many flights that could have gotten somebody there that
Yeah.
would have replaced somebody down the road as opposed to somebody like right there. But
Or at
anyway.
least, getting somebody, and maybe they would have had to delay, the flight for a certain number of hours, just to. Yeah, I agree. Sounds like, canceling the flight entirely was maybe, not necessary. But we don't know all the workings that are going on behind the scenes there, right? Or maybe they didn't come to that decision until it was too late to get another crew member in place.
Yeah,
Perhaps
and if
that's
tried to
part
bring them up from, say, Dulles or Philadelphia, that might have just been, or Boston, that still might, the clock starts then, and that doesn't really help them much.
Right.
Yeah, you're still going to have to, rob Peter to pay Paul. So someone's got to be positioned to replace the pilot which you've just brought up. I mean, sometimes it works. Sometimes you've got someone on a nice long layover and you can steal them out of a base and move them to where you need them straight away. But if there's no one available for that day, then I guess, I'm sure they looked at it because that's much better than cancelling a flight. Yeah. And the revenue lost.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the mosaic. We were hoping that Camacho would be back because he's the one that actually submitted this piece of news. But it looks like his meeting is taking a little bit longer than he thought it would. And then perhaps he'll have something to add when he comes back, or if he comes back. So let's go to news item. Let's see. Oh, it's rearranged itself again. Oh my gosh. This is just not good. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. What number is that on our list? I guess it's B. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and cover this one, and hopefully Nick Camacho, the submitter of our news item, will be back. And I was just telling them, Liz, that we're going to go ahead and cover B, even though Camacho is not back yet, and maybe he'll have something to add if he is able to catch what we're discussing here. But this piece of news was announced at Oshkosh. And our sources for the news are the FAA and the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association. It was announced at Oshkosh, and we haven't covered it yet. And so it involves something with an acronym MOSAIC, which stands for Modernization of Special Airworthiness Certification. Is now a final rule, and after more than a decade of work by the Experimental Aircraft Association and the FAA and numerous other organizations, a generation after the creation of the original Sport Pilot and Light Sport Aircraft (LSA) rules, we now welcome Sport Pilot 2.0 and LSA 2.0. Oh, perfect timing! Looks like Camacho is back. I'm just starting now to cover this, hoping that the timing would work out, Nick. So welcome back. Let's see. So let me reread this sentence. A generation after the creation of the original Sport Pilot and Light Sport Aircraft LSA rules, we now welcome Sport Pilot 2.0 and LSA 2.0 on October 22nd, 2025. About 3/4 of the general aviation fleet, that's a big chunk, will be accessible to sport pilots and those exercising sport pilot privileges. On July 24th, 2026, new and modern aircraft will begin entering the fleet with minimal certification costs. And then the article goes on to, and we also have the actual rule, which is like, I don't know how many hundreds of pages.
Yeah, and the rule encompasses more than just the one little GA portion, or one big GA portion that we are going to chat about. There's a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah,
that's not as relevant to
717
us.
pages is actually.
Yeah.
We will not read all 717 pages on the show. It'll take a little bit too long. Anyway, so Camacho, since you're the one that submitted this, why don't you start off the discussion regarding?
Yeah. So, I think I've talked about this a couple of different times on the show, but this goes back to about 20 years ago. The FAA introduced a new certification class of pilots called Light Sport Pilot. And it was kind of a two-part thing. It was certification of pilots as sport pilots and certification of airplanes as light sport airplanes. And the goal was to try to make aviation more accessible. And the way they were doing that is on the sport pilot side of things, they were not requiring a medical. So there were a few nuances to it. You couldn't, if you had previously been denied an FAA medical, you weren't eligible to fly as a sport pilot on your driver's license until you passed another FAA medical. So that was a small oddity of it. And then if you had a current FAA medical and you were flying an airplane that met basically the limitations of the sport pilot certification, you could let your medical lapse and continue to fly without getting medicals. And then the other side of it was a new certification class for airplanes where they'd be certified by the ASTM instead of the FAA. And the goal there was to kind of drive cheaper new airplane certification and get more small airplanes into the fleet. The first half of that was pretty successful. The second half was not quite as successful, I think, because of the cost of new airplanes versus old airplanes. The limitations on the original sport pilot certification were 1,320 pound max gross on the airplane. I think 120 knot maximum speed. And there were a few other caveats, but those were the two main ones. And the 1,320 max gross is really kind of the handcuffing aspect of it. I think that's 600 kilometers. I think they carried that over from a similar certification in Europe. Kilograms.
Yeah, kilograms.
Sorry. Kilograms. So there's something similar somewhere in Europe. I don't know if it's all of Europe that uses 600 kilograms. And so FAA, I think for ease of getting things passed, just kind of accepted that as the baseline for sport pilot. Almost immediately, there's a little bit of consternation about that because that cut off a ton of very popular training airplanes. So not just like 172s, Cherokees, most of the 4-seat airplanes. I think that was another limitation of sport pilot is that you could not fly a 4-seat airplane. It had to be a 2-seat airplane. Not that there was any 4-seat airplanes near the 1320 limitation, but the big deal was Cessna 150 and 152s are, I think, in like the 1,500 pound gross weight range. So they were out. So basically, I think it was 2004 when Sport Pilot was introduced. Basically, since that happened, there's been a push to update or modernize those rules. And there's been an active effort going on in the government for probably 5 years, maybe. I think it started before COVID to get those rules updated. And they finally got it done at Oshkosh. So,
yay, Oshkosh.
Yep. I think it's going to be a big deal. And so basically the updates include going from a kind of a weight-based threshold for the airplanes to a stall speed-based threshold. That's the primary threshold. There are some other items, but now if you have a sport pilot certificate, you'll be able to fly airplanes, certificated airplanes at least, that have a stall speed, as long as the stall speed is 59 knots or less. 4-seat airplanes, you can fly 4-seat airplanes.
You can still only have 2 people.
Yep, you can still
if
only
it's
take
just a
one
sport
passenger.
pilot. Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
And then they also updated the light sport certification side of things to now, make it easier to certify a wider breadth of airplanes as light sports. So again, the weight limit is gone, and you now have a 61 knot for newer airplanes, a 61 knot stall speed limitation, and a couple of other items. But it really
Also, retractable landing gear and constant speed propellers
constant speed
now.
prop. You
yeah.
could fly a complex airplane.
Yeah.
As long as it meets that threshold. Of course, I fly an airplane that has a 62 knot stall speed, so
so close.
Well, there was one big thing with it that they said there would be no recertification of aircraft, so you can't take
correct
Bonanza or a Debonair or a 182 RG or whatever and say, oh, I don't want this to be a regular airplane anymore. I want it to be a light sport.
Yep.
You can't do that. It has to be a new airplane,
a new
built to those
certification.
specifications.
But you can fly it as a light sport pilot. So
Correct.
There's like, as you mentioned earlier, there's the airplane side of things and then there's the pilot side of things.
Yeah,
So,
huge benefit for the sport pilot.
Yes.
Basically minimal benefit for the person who owns the airplane.
Correct. And as Jeff said, now that you can have constant speed props and retractable gear, there's a whole slew of aircraft that were very hard to certify as anything other than either fully certificated or as experimental in the United States, because they might have had constant speed props and or retractable gear, either one of which would have eliminated that option. So now these planes can be certificated as light sport and flown with a light sport license, or of course any other pilot certificate that qualifies in that aircraft. And it opens up a whole world of new kinds of flying with new kinds of aircraft that people might not have wanted, because it had to either be experimental, which brings in a bunch of questions, or fully certified part, was it 21 certified?
Part 23.
23, right. Which is cost prohibitive to bring a new product to market, today under Part 23. So that's really, and all of a sudden at Oshkosh, these companies that came with their planes that would qualify under Mosaic had lines out the doors, really out the tent, and around the corner. They were just people lining up to look at these planes that are now able to be certified as light sport.
Also, it looks like maintaining these airplanes now in this new rule has changed a little bit. And since we have an AMP mechanic with us here, can you address that, Nick?
A little bit. That's actually the part that I'm the least familiar with. But part of the certification of these airplanes, since they were certified under the ASTM guidelines instead of the FAA guidelines, one of the aspects of that is there's a different class of maintenance license. So you can basically get a light sport repairman's license, which allows you to essentially be a mechanic on light sport certified airplanes. But you're not an FAA certificated mechanic. So they made a few tweaks to that light sport repairman section. But again, I think really the bigger impact there is with the expanded capabilities of the light sport certified field. People who have light sport repairman licenses will probably have more opportunities to use them because there'll be more airplanes certified, hopefully, to that.
Any downsides to this new rule?
Yeah, that's Micah was asking in the chat about less competent pilots being able to fly larger, more complex aircraft. On the surface, that's what it appears to be true, and but I think from a practical standpoint, many of these pilots were able to fly most of the planes in the category. Yeah, the Cherokee and the 172 are bigger, heavier, and I guess, with kinetic energy, they're more dangerous if you want to look at it that way. But on the other side of the coin, they're not that much bigger and heavier than what a light sport pilot would have been able to fly before. And now it's also putting pilots into officially certificated aircraft as opposed to an experimental aircraft. So they would have been able to fly an experimental aircraft almost without limitation. The limits, because it's an experimental, would have been almost equivalent, if not even further than what they're allowed to do now in certificated planes. So I can totally see the concern you have. Less experienced light sport pilots flying a heavier plane. And yeah, I get it. 1,200, 1,600 pounds is more than 2,400 pounds, which is the gross max on my Cherokee. But chances are they're also flying a plane that's much more sophisticated in a positive way. It's a plane that has more safety features. It's a plane that has more reliability in certain areas, or at least a parachute. A lot of the newer planes that are entering the market are coming in with parachutes. So I can see that happening on paper. It looks like a concern. Micah also mentioned who's going to check how many people are in the plane. Well, that problem exists today. We've got plenty of stories of people stuffing passengers, well beyond the number of seats into their planes and going off doing stupid things.
And that'll always be a problem, right?
Correct.
Like there is no way to regulate out people putting other people who shouldn't be in the airplane, people flying for hire when they shouldn't be flying for hire. Like there's nobody standing there making sure that you're not taking money every time you go flying if you're a private pilot.
Or to Michael's earlier point, putting moose on the outside of a plane that weigh more than the plane do.
Right. So again, like that one, I feel like that's just always going to be like a point that's up there. I'll go back also to Micah's first point. He said larger. What did he say? Hold on, let me find it. Larger, more complex aircraft. Less competent pilots with less training to fly larger, more complex airplanes. So there's a couple of aspects of that. Part of the reason that the sport pilot license takes 20 hours instead of 40 is because they have carved out some of the training requirements. So like sport pilots couldn't fly at night. So there was no reason to go get night training. As a private pilot, you have to get a certain amount of night training as part of your education. So that's still the case. Sport pilots now can fly at night, but it requires an additional amount of training. So, and additionally, the 20 and 40 hour thresholds, I would say are not really representative of what it takes most people to get their licenses. I bet you there's a fair amount of sport pilots that took longer than some private pilots. I would actually argue that may be like a really long duration might be a more concern than a short duration, because it might show, evidence of a person who's really struggling to grasp core competencies that, you kind of need to have ingrained in you.
Yeah, I might be offended by that.
Look, 250 hours is nothing to be ashamed of to get your private pilot's license, okay?
But the other thing is, the other thing to keep in mind is now these student pilots are going to be getting their license in those airplanes. So I would argue that somebody, like if you take a private pilot who goes out and does 40 hours of training, or say 60 hours of training in a Cessna 150, they can immediately step out of that flight school the day after taking their check ride and get into a 172 or something like that with zero additional training. A Cherokee,
Bonanza.
Yeah. So they got to get high horsepower, and they got to get a complex if they go into like a Bonanza or a 210.
Fair point.
But for like the largest section, right, the 152s, the 172s, and the Cherokees that a lot of these pilots will probably be taking advantage of, there's no additional training requirement for that. And the second thing is, I think if you took my experience with the pilot community is there's a small section that always makes the news because they make bad decision making in their flying experiences.
ADM.
They don't stay proficient. There's staying current, and then there's staying proficient. I was a perfect example of that this morning, flying my airplane back from the avionics shop. I have 3 takeoffs and landings in a BFR, so I'm current. I was not as proficient as I would have liked to have been. And I think that there's a tiny sliver of the pilot population that fit the bill of those two people. And then the overwhelming majority of pilots strive to be overeducated and maintain a high level of proficiency. And I think that's because a lot of people understand the consequences
Personal
of what
risk,
we
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And
Potential
to add
risks.
on to that too, that these people that are getting into these more complex aircraft, they're still required to have high performance endorsement, which requires training. They're still required to have a complex endorsement, which requires training.
Mhm.
So you're not just going to go from flying a light sport simple airplane to jumping into a high performance retractable gear rocket or anything like that. And also, I'd also argue a lot of these light sports, even the ones currently on the market, are very, very complex airplanes, just the systems on the airplane. They're running FADEC and they're running multiple ECUs and, I mean, all kinds of systems on the airplane. Operationally, fairly simple, but so is a 172. But the things happening in the background are very, very complex with those airplanes. So understanding when they go wrong can be, pretty difficult as well, or require a lot of knowledge.
And sorry, going back, this is my last point on Micah's comment. The other thing, another big driver in general aviation like proficiency and just being able to fly are the insurance companies. And 95% of the people that go, make this change or get a new airplane or something, they're going to have to insure the airplane, and the insurance company is going to require them to get 10 hours of instruction or do 15 hours of solo time before they can take passengers. So there is another, and it's not a regulatory gate, I understand, but there is another gating function in general aviation that is the insurance industry. And that one is actually getting far more challenging in the recent history.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Go ahead, AJ.
I would say perfect example of that. Our flying club, we have a 182RG, which is a high performance complex airplane, and we have no minimum open pilot waiver hours. So anyone that we check out on the airplane can fly it under our insurance. We were looking at getting a 206, which is not a complex airplane. It does have a controllable pitch propeller, but it's a fixed gear airplane, but it has 6 seats. Suddenly, you have to have a minimum of 500 hours total time. And that boggled my mind that this slower, less complex airplane suddenly has this, for what we're doing, a very high requirement for total time. I was very surprised. The insurance requirements are definitely in flux.
All right. And you were going to add something, Hillel?
Just briefly, that it doesn't qualify in this conversation, but there are some planes like Cirrus that require for your insurance company your 25 hours of instruction or something before they'll let you fly your own plane off the airport you picked it up from. So that's it's similar in that vein to from the insurance side. I'm not even sure Cirrus would let you take the plane unless you sign up for some sort of instruction.
That's included with your purchase.
Yeah,
you get 25 hours with a CSIP.
Yeah, if you get a new one from Cirrus, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, go out there and buy some airplanes from Cirrus. Brand new ones. Come on, people.
Yeah,
And
but
then-
they don't qualify for Mosaic.
Just
No, they
send 10% of that to the Airline Pilot Guy show, if you don't mind. How about just 1%? That would be good too. Anyway, well, great discussion. It sounds to me, as someone who doesn't have a lot of experience in the general aviation world and light sport, aircraft, et cetera, sounds like this is really a good thing, that it's a win-win for almost everybody out there.
Yep, I think it will be. I hope it will be.
Yeah, I already know a company looking to build a factory assembly shop in the U.S. just because of Mosaic being passed.
Perfect.
So,
excellent. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much to our general aviation experts, Hillel and Camacho and AJ. We do appreciate getting some of your knowledge and expertise. All right, that means now it's time for Getting to Know Us, which is the segment of the show where we get together and figure out what everybody has been up to between shows. And we're going to start with someone who it's been quite, well, I don't know. You could argue that he is with us every show because he likes to take showers in my bathrooms. No matter where I am, he seems to be there. But it's been a while since we've had you on the show in this role, Hillel. And so why don't you tell, for those who are new, other than knowing that that's the guy that's always taking the shower and talking about Slack, our Slack master, tell us a little bit about yourself and also what you've been up to in recent times.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. Happy to be here. So about myself, I have been flying since 2007. Did not get my certificate quite that long ago, but did eventually get a certificate, get an instrument rating, buy a plane. Actually, I bought the plane first, and then I got my instrument rating in it. And I fly that Cherokee around, saving puppies and occasionally other animals as often as I can when I'm not doing other things. I've been to Oshkosh every year since 2015. And so that's where I meet a lot of the APG community on an annual basis. When I'm not flying animals around or flying for other purposes, I got my hands in a bunch of different things. I teach graduate school at university. I teach entrepreneurship and work with early stage companies and companies going through inflection points and help them get out of their own way. What I'll tell people when I introduce myself in a business setting is I use planes to save puppies. That's actually my opening line. And if they're smart enough to figure out that there's no money in it, then we can have the rest of the conversation.
Show me the money.
Right. And then it turns out that the reason I do that, besides it's super fulfilling, the reason the puppies need it is because they're in a situation that's out of resources, out of capacity, out of time, and out of options. And it just so happens that those are the exact scenarios that clients I work with, companies I work with, they're also up against the wall, backs in a corner, and they are out of resources, capacity, time, and options. And if they don't do something to get out of it or grow, they won't make it either. So that's what I'm doing. And as you mentioned a couple times, I was in Oshkosh and seen many of you there. And since coming back, I've flown probably another dozen or so animals here and there. In fact, this past weekend, I was supposed to fly twice. One of them got scrubbed in the middle of the flight because of thunderstorms, came in and got in the way, so I ended up not flying that leg. But the next day I flew the most puppies at any given time. There's 7 puppies in my Cherokee, so 5 siblings in a crate in the back, and then 2 loose dogs, including you have to kind of picture this, a puppy Great Dane. So this puppy Great Dane was adorable, but huge. I mean, she was taller and less heavy than my Staffordshire Terrier, but still, and had her paws were as big as my hands, and I don't have small hands, so it's like she's going to be a very, very, very large dog, and so that was my weekend fun.
I got a question for you. So with all this puppy saving going on, how is it that you have not succumbed to personally saving one of those said puppy passengers?
That would not be accurate. I did, in fact, take a dog from a shelter out to a no-kill shelter, and I decided on the flight out that this dog had the characteristics we were looking for. I contacted the shelter when I returned, and they said, "Come get him." And I'm like, "Well, you guys are outside of Philadelphia, and I'm in Baltimore, so I'm not going to do that today." Anyway, a couple of days later, I did fly up and pick up our dog, and he is appropriately named, thanks to my brilliant wife, Tango. And because the T is the last letter in our airplane's registration, so she's like, "That's appropriate." I'm like, "Yes, he is definitely a Tango." So yeah, we have. I don't know if you could hear him barking occasionally when I'm not muted, but we have a dog that made it out of the shelter and into our house, and
awesome.
We are grateful for that.
That's cool. All right,
Yeah, good job,
Very good.
Hillel.
All right, Hillel, we do appreciate that. And I know that you have a tight schedule, so anytime you need to leave, just let us know and say goodbye, and we'll continue to move on.
Probably after this segment.
Okay, excellent. All right, Nick Camacho. Since I know you also have a job and have a tight schedule, why don't we go ahead and hear from you and see what you've been up to?
Yeah. So I was just on a few days ago, so it hasn't been that long. I did.
Oh yeah, how's the game?
Oh, it was good. The Royals were actually getting no hit through the first 5+ innings, so it wasn't looking great. And it was hot, and so the first 5 or 6 innings weren't great. But then they played really well for the second half of the game, and they ended up winning.
Oh, nice.
Tying the game.
Spoiled the no hitter for the opposing pitcher, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, so it was good. Ken and I went up Saturday evening. There was like my son's a big fan of like escape rooms and that sort of stuff, and we couldn't with just the two of us, we couldn't really find a cost-effective escape room. But they had a place called, I think, Activate Games or Active Games or something, and it was basically this place where you went in and you played all sorts of kind of like interactive, like physical activity electronic games. So like they had a game where they had a wall full of like touch pressure sensitive panels, right? Like touch screens essentially. And then you could play like asteroids, where they'd have asteroids coming and they had balls and you'd throw the balls at the asteroids to kill the asteroids, or they'd put numbers up and you had to throw the balls at the numbers in order. And then they had a room with laser, basically like a laser maze that you had to go through. So it was kind of a neat little electronic active game simulation thing that we did Saturday evening, and then went to the game on Sunday. So
cool.
Yep.
Sounds like a great trip.
Yep. And then I just got back. I took my airplane to the avionics shop a couple of days ago, and went and picked it up this morning. Have an outstanding squawk I'm going to have to deal with Garmin on, unfortunately, but it doesn't make my airplane unairworthy. So I went ahead and went and picked it up and flew it home, and was happy that my pedostatic plumbing, which was all completely redone when I did my panel work. I passed an initial inspection on that, a couple years ago when I was putting the airplane back in service, but this was my first test of that system since I had put everything back together. So I was happy.
It's always good to have your plumbing in order.
Go through. Yeah. So it was a little interesting because the avionics shop I utilized was at the main airport here in Wichita. So it's like a 7-minute hop as the crow flies in my airplane, but because I'm still working on the engine break-in, I'm still in the engine break-in period. I flew a big loop around Wichita and then was just kind of boring holes in the sky out east of my airport, both when I left on Tuesday and coming home today, so that I could put a little more high pressure time on my cylinders before I came in and landed.
Excellent.
Yep.
Good to hear you getting more active with the private flying. That's
Yep.
A good thing.
Oh man. And I was, one other thing I will note is I was going into, so Wichita's a Class C airport, which I don't have a ton of experience. I've gone in plenty over the course of my history, but I just haven't been flying my Deb. The Luscombe is not properly equipped to fly in there, so I haven't flown into Class C airspace very much the past 5 years. And so I went to Live ATC and was kind of bummed when I saw that for some reason our big airport is not listed on Live ATC, because I wanted to go, kind of listen to clearance delivery and listen to the tower a little bit to kind of get in the flow of things. So I was kind of bummed when that happened. And then after I landed this morning, I was extremely happy that it wasn't on there, because I had two different instances while I was talking to him where I clicked the monitor button instead of the mic button on my audio panel.
Oh.
So instead of switching from tower to departure, I just clicked the monitor button and tower had to say, "You're still talking to tower." And I was like,
that never happens. That never happens
And
to
then,
anybody, even
did the
airline
same
pilots.
thing.
I've never done that ever in my history.
Did the same thing going
Yeah.
into Stearman
Flip
Field.
the switch.
So
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I at least pressed the button. I pressed the wrong button. So I'll chalk that one up to that proficiency thing I was talking about earlier.
We're just going to have to take your word for it because we don't have any other evidence.
That's right.
He just didn't tell us that he didn't utter the words. What does this button do?
That's right.
No, it's recorded somewhere. It's on an FAA radio channel, guaranteed.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying the fact that he pushed the wrong button, there's no recording or evidence of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll see. I know some people out in the
I was going to say, I think what AJ is
AJ's
saying is he knows some people that can figure this out for us.
I know a guy.
All right, very good. AJ, what have you been doing between shows, sir?
Nothing to report, sir.
All right. That was nice. Sweet.
Yeah, working and
Well,
working.
wait a minute. Because we recorded a show, and then later that day, we got to see each other in person at
We did.
a brewery, Reformation Brewing in Woodstock, Georgia.
Weird us meeting at a brewery. That just seems so.
Yeah,
out of
that's
character.
very, very unusual. Very unusual. Yeah.
Yeah. So my wife had a milestone birthday last week, and she is not a social interaction party environment type person. So I kind of had to surprise her a little bit and not tell her that there was anything happening. And also, I'm not a very good liar when it comes to her. So that means I couldn't actually have anything planned. So I just started calling people on Saturday morning and said, hey, we're getting together at 5 o'clock at a
Please
brewery.
come.
Do you want to come? And it was a fantastic turnout. We had
a lot of people.
20 or 25 people overall. All same day, couple hours notice. So she had a great time. Got to see a lot of friends and hang out. We were there for several hours and really good time. Glad Jeff was able to make it and got to hang out and drink some beer and eat some barbecue. And had a really good time. So
It was great. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Other than that, got to do a little flying yesterday and had more test flights. So the propeller governor on the 182 was not quite right. And it's, as Camacho can attest, it's a very difficult thing to set on the ground because the engine doesn't make full RPM. So you have to set it what you think is close, go up and fly a lap of the pattern, come back down, tweak it, go up and fly a lap of the pattern, come back down and tweak it. It's a whole process. The mechanic gets really upset if you don't shut the engine off while he's trying to change it too. So that's a whole other story.
No sense of humor.
I know, yeah. But anyway, it actually ended up being relatively quick. They adjusted it once. We went up and flew it, changed it one more time, and it was pretty much spot on perfect. So worked out really well. So finally, and I'm going to jinx myself by saying this, so knock on wood, but that airplane that's been down for a year and 4 months is now back on the line.
Well, this airplane, a.k.a. Hangar Queen?
This is the one known as Hangar Queen. There's some more less appropriate for broadcast names associated with that airplane, but yes,
you can keep that to yourself. Yeah. All right.
So it's been a long road, but it is back. It is fixed and flying. So glad to have it back.
Well, we're glad to hear. All right, Captain Nick, how have you been?
Very well, thank you very much indeed. Not much going on, but playing a little bit of petanque, which is the French game where you throw things around and you drink lots of beer. That's good. And I won both my games today, so I was on cloud 9, sitting in the pub eating my lunch and drinking a few beers.
Wait, if it's a French game, shouldn't you have been drinking wine?
I was thinking the same thing, AJ. Yeah.
There are some French beers.
The French
they're not good beers, though.
Too much
There are some
the
English
beer.
wine, yeah. I think I've gone to German.
It's not good wine, though.
Exactly right. Right, cover art. Liz, there we go. Now, look, I had some great suggestions. Drink-a-Pod, Dispirited Airlines, 50 Shades of Captain Al. I thought about doing that, but we want to keep this suitable for kids.
Yeah.
Take Your Crab. I don't know, and that again had me worried a bit because I don't like crabs. I like eating them, but I don't like having them.
Thank you.
avoiding birds, but the one that won was because it's a sea shanty, and we know Jeff is a lovely singer, was Blow the Gear Down, Pilots, Blow the Gear Down. And I managed to produce a bunch of airline pilots singing their sea shanty with Captain Jeff clearly the leader of the choir in the middle.
Okay.
And he looks very handsome compared with the grizzly old men around him. But because I'm a grizzly old man, I slip myself in as the one on the left. So, you can't really tell, but it is me, I promise you. Right.
So I could tell enough that I meant to ask you that after you sent it out. And I was just now sitting here thinking, should I ask Captain Nick if that's him, or would he get offended if I asked him that?
Not at all.
I know it was him immediately.
Have you ever managed to offend Nick? I mean, I've been trying for a couple of years now.
Yeah, that would take some doing. Now, the hidden bits. Let's see which first one comes
Well,
up.
they're all wearing pants, so all the hidden bits
they
are still hidden. That's good.
Exactly right. It was about blowing your gear down. So there's the tyre sitting there, and the manufacturer of the tyre is, of course, Acme. So the Acme logo's on the tyre, if you couldn't find it. Now, the show number on Captain Jeff's choir or hymn sheet is there. It's page number 679 in the top corner.
Or 673 even.
Oh, 673. My eyesight.
I am.
Yeah, he does. And chiseled and tanned. And yeah, very good.
And he's also the only one not singing.
Yeah, well, he's like a ventriloquist. He can sing with his teeth.
Well, my choir director always tells me I'm not opening my mouth enough when I'm singing, so that's just proof of it right there.
The guy beside you's making up for it. The Jackass is, this reminds me of that series of cartoons with the penguins, stealing an airplane. The Jackass is peering out of the passenger window at us all. So that was that was the artwork, and that's it. Oh, that's all there is to report. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. As always, great artwork. I've been just doing my standard stuff. Sang over the weekend. Already went to the Reformation Brewery, of course, for the birthday celebration. That was Friday night, I think, right?
Saturday.
Or was that Saturday? Oh, that was right. That was after I sang at the Vigil Mass. I headed over to Woodstock, and that was great. Great to see your wife and everybody else. And go ahead, Hillel. He's showing us a little Post-it note that he's leaving us. So thanks again for joining us on short notice, Hillel. We do appreciate your discussion about Mosaic. All right.
Bye, mate.
Take care, man.
Thanks.
All right. And let's see. Then this week, I think, I think I did have a funeral on Monday that I sang. Here we are doing the show. And, I do have an explanation. So, you've heard Liz say many times in the last several shows that she was a little concerned because we weren't getting feedback. And I'm sure many of you out there are thinking, well, I've been sending feedback. Why are they ignoring my feedback? Because, no, she said, that she's an idiot. No, you're not. That was a show title a couple episodes back, but you're not an idiot, Liz. Apparently I'm the idiot when I added AJ to our list of forwarding recipients of the feedback. Apparently I wasn't paying close attention to the rule that I was creating to accomplish that task. And so when I did a little bit of investigation, when everybody was saying, including me, I'm not getting these things either, I noticed that there was something keeping the rule from proceeding further than just sending and forwarding the email to Captain Nick and to AJ. So AJ, you should have been receiving all this
email. Something. But I was like, we're not getting any feedback. I'm getting a ton.
Yeah,
and
what are they talking about?
I guess they don't like these. We're just not going to talk about them. I don't know.
No, we were just not really getting them. Yeah, so speak up. Pipe up, man. Anyway, so I went and figured it out, and I didn't even have to call customer service to have them help me. I just figured it out on my own. I went, oh, I think I know what the problem is.
I would like
just
to highlight
uncheck that box.
One important comment here from Main Man Micah.
Oh, Main Man Micah says, I don't think you were an idiot for adding AJ to the show. He's been great. Oh, I see why you highlighted that one, AJ. Self-promotion.
Hey, you know what? The fee is undisclosed.
You have to head up over to Portland, Maine and have some lobster with Main Man Micah. Yeah. Oh, yes. So thank you for getting me back on track there, Liz. All the feedback will be covered, and we have a bunch of feedback now. Turns out we always did. And she's very happy about that. And so if you don't hear your feedback immediately, it's because we're just working through that backlog. So thank you, as always, for sending in that feedback. We do appreciate that. So again, my mea culpa, my apologies for screwing all that up. So there we go. And Coffee Fund, let's do a little singing. I have to hit this button here to make that happen. Here we go. The Coffee Fund.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah. No, I'm going to fix this in post, but during this live, there's a lot of latency on this show because I hear Liz singing with me in the background. Okay, the Airline Pilot Guy Coffee Fund is a way that you can support the show financially if you have the resources to do that and the desire to do that. If you get any value from this, we would appreciate value from you if you don't mind. A couple of different ways to join the Coffee Bar Club, and that is the first one is the Coffee Fund Classic method. And since the last episode, and I think I may have already mentioned Adam right on that show where I didn't have any slides made. But just to be sure, I don't want to skip Adam. So I may have mentioned you twice, Adam. So you get double credit, maybe. He sent us a very generous donation via the Coffee Fund Classic method, and we are also on Patreon. You can become a patron of the show, different tiers and that kind of thing. And we have a new producer, Tom Harris, joined the Coffee Bar Club as a producer on Patreon. So if you're interested in learning how you can become part of this wonderful group of people, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did, and we will too.
Hey, Jeff, I'm going to leave you as well real quick before
Okay.
we change.
All right, very good. Well, I'm glad that we had a little bit of you for the show, Nick.
Thanks
I know
for
you're
being
a very
flexible
busy
with
man,
me.
but so it was great to see you.
Yep, we'll see you guys
Good to
next
see you,
time.
Nick.
Talk to you later. All right.
Cheers, Nick.
And okay, we're going to do a piece of feedback from some audio feedback from Bob, who is with us in the live audience. And then after that, we're going to do the plain tale for this show. And then if we have any time remaining, I'm not sure, we'll have to take a look. We won't, Liz says. So I guess we won't have any more feedback. We'll just have much, much, much more feedback on the next show. We'll try to keep the news down to a minimum and do more feedback on the next show. All right, so without further ado, let's press this button for the feedback bumper.
Captain, incoming message.
And Captain Nick, since Bob is your good friend and someone with whom you've worked both in the military and in the podcasting realm, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the microphone.
Oh, absolutely. But I think best thing is to just introduce Bob. He's a fantastic guy. He managed to let me teach him to fly a bit, which is quite remarkable. Since I chopped most of my students, he got through. Marvelous. Well done, Bob. He noticed that there was a similarity between an incident which he experienced in the Air Force or at least he was in the organization that supervised this. With the story we had last week about an F-18 that did a very hard maneuver to avoid some birds and came very close to wiping himself out on the ocean. Not good. So with that in mind, I'm just going to ask you to put on Bob's audio, and then if there's anything I can fill in afterwards, I will do.
Very good. And if you're watching the video, you'll be also seeing some video to which Bob is referring in his audio feedback. So without further ado, here we go. Take it away, Bob.
Hi there, Captain Jeff, Captain Nick, and all of the APG crew. Bob Judson here. I seem to have uncorked the feedback bottle because this is now 2 feedbacks in 2 weeks. But having seen the Spanish F-18 video that you had on the show last week with the relatively near miss, I suppose, with the guy nearly crashing because he was, quote, avoiding birds, unquote, it really sparked a memory for me of when I was the base commander, the station commander at Royal Air Force Coningsby in Lincolnshire in the UK back in 2004 to 2006. We had Typhoon, the Eurofighter Typhoon, as the brand new jet then, and very early on we needed to get a display out so people could start seeing it, industry could start showing it off, and all those sorts of things. And we had a display pilot all worked up in 2005 and 2006 with a sequence with the airplane, and it was a hugely high performance aircraft, the like of which the RAF had never really had in terms of its turning performance and thrust to weight ratio. So it was quite a thing to develop a display that was going to show the airplane off appropriately, but also be safe and sensible. And it was all working brilliantly. We had this great show that had been validated and approved and was being used quite a lot through the summer. And then at the Royal International Air Tattoo in August 2005, the display pilot did a maneuver which was part of his normal sequence, which was a roll, a fairly low-speed roll into his low-speed pass down the runway, so flying into wind down the runway at the lowest speed he sensibly could, but a very low-speed roll into that. And I'd flown that maneuver with him in the back seat a number of times, and obviously his whole supervisory chain had done the same thing below me. And it was completely benign and no issue whatsoever. And on this particular day, when Matt was doing his validation display, so his effectively preparatory show to get himself certified to display at this very big air show, the maneuver got away from him. And there's a YouTube clip that accompanies this that you'll see exactly what happened and just how close it was. And he really didn't appreciate until after the fact just how close it had actually been, I think. But the nose dropped and dished through as he did the roll, and suddenly he had a very high sink rate on. He was already pretty low to the ground, obviously displaying at 500 feet for the aerobatic maneuvers, and then descending down to lower than that, 300 feet for the low-speed pass itself. And he ended up bottoming out much, much lower than that. He was probably down, not much more than about 20 feet with full reheat in. And ironically, it was the performance of the aeroplane that saved him on that particular day, because he put the burners in and just powered his way out of the maneuver, and ended fine. He landed. Obviously, he got red carded for the validation. He had to go and revalidate, and did so, and that was all fine. And it could have been that the rest was history. The interesting postscript to the story, though, was I wasn't there on the day. I didn't see this happen. It was a Friday that he was doing this validation display before the big weekend. And I was in the bar at the base, and I got a phone call from the squadron commander of this guy who rang me up and he said, "Hey, boss, I just want you to know that the display pilot, and I won't name him on here, he failed his validation check at the attitude today." And I said, "Oh, why? What happened?" And he said, "Well, apparently he got a little bit low." And bear in mind, the squadron commander wasn't actually at the show either, so this is all kind of second-hand on to third-hand information. He said he got a little bit low on his roll into the low speed pass, and so bust his base height, and therefore they red carded him, and he's got to revalidate tomorrow. And I said, okay, well, no big deal, then everything's fine. Yeah, no one's hurt, nothing's going on, and I didn't think too much of it until I went home not very long later, and because I was flying myself on the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, flying the Spitfires and Hurricanes of the BBMF, I was very regularly on some of the spotters websites because they were taking pictures of the airplanes, and you could get some lovely pictures of aircraft that we were displaying. So I just thought I'll just have a look and see whether there's anything on there. And of course, I looked at the internet, and it lit up like a rash with not only the video that you're seeing accompanying this, but also a whole series of other things. And we realized, I mean, this was incredibly close to being a crash, And so he failed his validation check because he bust his base height by a little bit. It was a slight understatement, to say the least. And it was one of those moments where where there were lots of learnings for everyone involved. And the long story made short was we ended up changing his display. We took that maneuver out of the subsequent displays, revalidated him, requalified him to perform in front of the public, which all went absolutely brilliantly. And then he carried on. But it was certainly a very interesting discussion with the supervisory chain afterwards. And I think I make the point really because in the discussion you were having about that F-18 last week, these very high performance airplanes are incredible, but they can really bite you very, very hard if stuff goes wrong. And of course, the ground still has a probability of kill of 1. It is going to destroy the airplane if it hits it, and there's no doubting that. So avoiding it is absolutely critical. But you think carefree handling means you can do whatever you like. In reality, there are still some laws of aerodynamics that play their part here. Just thought that might be useful feedback for the session that you've got when you next talk about this. But really enjoy the show, and as ever, hope it's useful. Take care. Bye.
Well, thank you, Bob. As mentioned, he is with us in our live audience as we speak, and we've been playing over and over and over again this video.
I feel a bit sorry for the pilot.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
If
But it was way
watching
back in
this,
2005.
He says,
I
how many
think.
times do you want to see me nearly crash?
It's just so amazing. It just shows the capabilities of this fighter, I think.
Oh, it does. I'm just going to explain a term there which might not be familiar to everyone. Probability of kill, PK, is a fighter pilot term. Every weapon has a probability of kill, and no weapon has a PK of 1, which is a guarantee kill. Because it doesn't matter how sophisticated a missile or whatever you're going to fire at someone, there's a chance it might not go off. It'll disappear into the wide blue yonder because the guidance fails, or the motor fails, or it won't even come off the rail because the firing pulse won't get to it, or whatever reason. So, but the only thing that has a PK of 1 is the ground.
Hitting the
and
ground,
it's a common thing. Yeah, if people fly into the ground, they go, oh yeah, okay, well. You're always going to die, or generally going to die doing that, because it's got a PK of 1. But thanks very much indeed for that, Bob, because it gives us a little insight into the sort of supervision that goes on and the sort of checks and balances there are for display pilots. And also, and it's one of the things I actually tried to do when I was flying the Hawk, was to compete to become the Hawk display pilot. And I didn't get it, and I'm very glad I didn't, because so many of my friends have died doing display flying. It is really, really dangerous. People, it's got safer over the years. The aircraft, their capability has improved, but despite that, you can still bury the nose and get yourself into all sorts of trouble, because there's very little room to recover if you make the slightest mistake. And to be fair, the barrel roll, and that's kind of a barrel roll plus a kind of he's pitching back onto his crowd line. But the barrel roll is a maneuver that's flown almost entirely from there are no numbers involved. You do it all from feel. You pitch and roll, and you've just got to get that rate of pitch and rate of roll beautifully matched as you go round the barrel. And if you become even so slightly distracted and don't keep either the pitch or the roll going, it's very easy to let the nose drop. And while all that time you're in the inverted phase, the nose is coming down. You just have to slacken off that rate of roll a bit, or just pitch a bit hard, and the nose comes down. And even though it's an incredibly simple maneuver to perform, it's amazing how many people make a mess of it. I mean, I was at Linton News as a very young student when we killed we didn't kill him, he killed himself, the display pilot on the Jet Provost, just doing a barrel roll. You know, barrel roll, very simple maneuver. He got the nose a bit low and just couldn't get out, recover from it. Anyway, by the by, I'm blathering. But thanks very much for that, Bob. That was really good. Oh, here we go. Bob has written very, very little margin for error, and what looks incredible to the crowd is often terrifying in the cockpit. I quite agree. And one of the reasons that I decided I wouldn't make a good display pilot was in my display, I used to do a low-speed loop in the Hawk, which was done at around 200 knot entry, 250 knot entry, I think, coming over the top, very close to the stall. And if I didn't gain enough height coming over the top at such low speed, I had such low energy that I always blew my base height, but I always insisted on trying to keep it in because I thought it was a really skilled maneuver, and it was to get right. But at the end of it, when I didn't win, my squadron commander said, "Why did you do that stupid low-speed loop? It's really dangerous, and the crowd don't like it. The crowd aren't pilots. They want something that
really
looks
don't appreciate
impressive.
it.
It's only appreciated by another pilot." And I went, "Oh yeah, good point, boss."
Yeah, no need for me to risk my life anymore than doing that.
Exactly. Anyway, brilliant, Bob. That was good. Thanks for that. Keep chucking that feedback in, please. We're enjoying
Yes,
it.
please. Thank you, Bob. Leading for Life podcast. Check it out. We'll have a link in the show notes. All right.
leadingforlife.co.uk.
There we go.
And it's number 4 in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, number 4 instead of the... Yeah. Okay. So we're going to switch over now to... We have a plane tail. Yay. The old pilot has given us a plane tail for this show. It's another wonderful RAF Form 414. And this time, we're all the way up to volume 36. So take it away, old pilot.
The Old Pilot's Plane Tales. RAF Form 414, volume 36. My last logbook tale had us flying to New York on my first line training trip. Ding-a-ling, our chief pilot, had flown us out, and I was destined to do the return leg back to Blighty. I wish I could say that it was a more memorable experience, but perhaps it's good that the details have blurred into a mess of other more striking and unforgettable experiences, like landing in the teeth of a typhoon into Shanghai, or nearly running out of fuel trying to get into Hong Kong on a filthy night. Those are stories worthy of a mention at some time in the future, perhaps. What I can say is that a few trips later, I was again flying with Ding-a-ling in a nearly empty aircraft to Shannon on my initial line check. A couple of tales ago, I mentioned doing my base training, the trip when I tried my hand at a first landing in the 340 and had fun carpet surfing down the cabin on a meal tray. Well, today we were flying the same sort of trip, but I was working as the first officer who got to fly there and back, which counted as 2 line training sectors. In the back were a dozen or so pilots doing their initial base training, so once we got there, I climbed out and let them bounce their way down Shannon's main runway time after time. At the end, we did a full stop and taxied back to line up again so I could climb back in and do the sector home. Apparently, a sector had to include a full takeoff and landing, so a touch and go didn't count. With the takeoff numbers calculated and the box programmed, Ding-a-ling, who was flying it, gave me his departure and emergencies briefing, stood the throttles up, and let the brakes go. I could hardly hear the whine of the 4 CFM56s well behind us as the ASIs started reading and we began to exchange the calls and checks. We were very light with no catering, cargo, luggage, and only a few bodies in the back, and a mere 20 tons of fuel, so the 340 accelerated rapidly past V1, the decision speed, and I called rotate, immediately followed by a warning of birds. Not that there was much to be done about that, as we were just breaking ground. A flock of seagulls had chosen that moment to fly from the grass beside the runway and cross our path. They disappeared under the nose as we climbed away and cleaned the aircraft up. No noise of an impact, but then we noticed the number 2 engine's N1 vibration number was pulsing and reading a bit high. The N1 indicator is attached to the low-pressure spool that drives the big fan at the front of the engine, and for it to begin registering higher than normal vibration, it was a big clue that one of those seagulls had gone down the intake. I was about to learn a lesson about airmanship and the advantages of a 4-engined aircraft. The pulsing advisory just required increased monitoring of the engine, but my captain decided that we would shut the engine down and go home on 3. He justified this by the coincidence of the vibration warning soon after we flew through the birds, a relatively short flight time back to London, the aircraft's lightness and good performance on 3 engines, the fact that it wasn't a critical engine, and any damage to the engine might worsen dramatically should a blade fail. A shutdown would lessen the chance of an expensive repair bill. Back then, when we were years from starting ETOPS operations, the consequences of an engine shutdown affecting our statistics were non-existent from that regard. So I got the chance to close the fuel cock on a running engine in flight and watch it wind down for real. The process was quite formal. The handling pilot would touch the number 2 thrust lever with the words, "Number 2 thrust lever to idle." I would check that his finger was touching the correct lever and say, "Confirmed." The pilot flying then did just that, as the thrust levers were aircraft controls and he was the one flying it. The rest of the short drill was me pointing at the number 2 engine master switch saying, funny old thing, "Number 2 engine master switch to off," whereupon the PF would check I was pointing at the correct switch and confirm my action. Once confirmed, I lifted the switch over a gate and put it to the off position, watching the engine instruments as the number 2 fuel flow fell and the M1 stage percentage RPM started winding down from idle to a low windmilling speed. Afterwards, there were the usual additional warnings you'd expect as the number 2 generator, oil pump and hydraulic pump wound down, some of which would annoyingly reoccur when the windmilling engine occasionally went fast enough to bring some systems back online and then drop back down again. But we used the emergency cancel function to get rid of nuisance alarms. After tilling the aircraft, we'd be doing a flap 3 landing and not flap full to prevent additional warnings and an embarrassing go-around. The approach and landing was completely uneventful. After we parked up on our remote stand, everyone on board crowded around the engine to see what it looked like and chat to the engineers already up inside the intake, tapping the blade with soft hammers. After some good-natured ribbing about just how many hammers the engineers had in their toolboxes, they showed us how the fan blades dovetailed into the core hub with a small expansion gap which allowed a little movement. If the blades rotated in the breeze, they would gently tinkle like a super-expensive wind chime. They had marked 5 of the blades that had stiffened in place, indicating possible deformation following the strike. There wasn't a lot of blood, and it looked like the snarge had mainly gone down the bypass and out of the back, leaving little evidence. But they would take the blades out for inspection, and once the engine was cool, they'd boroscope the interior to look for other damage. The engine had boroscope ports for every stage of blades through which a flexible optical fiber probe could be passed, which provided recorded video for the operator to use for their inspection in much the same way as your proctologist will when they conduct an endoscopy. The initial line check passed, I now had to repeat the effort on a final line check with Robin, my fleet manager. I flew the aircraft into JFK, landing off one of their infamous non-precision VOR approaches, the offset one onto 22 left, that has an approach course of 232, which aimed right of the runway. Crabbing in with a wind from the north, it was easy to think that we were heading to land on the runway in front, but that was 22 right, as only 3,000 feet separated the two, and 22 left was, funny old thing, out of our left window. I was beginning to learn that at this large international airport it was common to use approach aids more often found in less, quote, sophisticated countries, unquote. I got the big aircraft safely onto the asphalt and slowed to taxi speed by the high-speed turn-off at Juliet, about 6,000 feet down, so that was the hard bit done. The night flight home was nice and quiet, and Robin only had a few debriefing points before he welcomed me to the fleet. It had only taken 14 sectors, so 7 return trips, which gave me 6 landings, and apart from base training airfields, the only Virgin destination I had seen was JFK. My eyes were about to be well and truly opened, as it was rare to get Bostons, New Yorks, or Washingtons, as they tended to be reserved for training flights because of the short flight time and a single night's layover. Having said that, my first flight as a line pilot was straight back to New York to position an aircraft there for someone else to bring back because they'd broken their own big time. It meant that my captain and I turned straight around and came home on the airframe that we'd just flown in. I got a chance to enjoy the big upper-class seats, no flat beds in those days, and the full service. That captain was Dave, a little vertically challenged, balding and cuddly, but a lovely laid-back guy with a lazy eyelid, who had in his time been a session saxophone player. He'd worked for some great artists like Manfred Mann, Wishbone Ash, and on John Lennon's Imagine album. As a sideline to his playing, he got his commercial flying license and would fly groups around to their gigs as well as playing for them. He eventually followed his heart and graduated to the world of airlines. Every new destination we had was exciting, but the next trip on my roster was doubly so. I was off to Hong Kong. Of course, I knew a lot about the island. I'd even interviewed for their flag carrier, Cathay Pacific, and I had many friends living there and working for Cathay, like Captain Nige, Razor Gillett, both ex-Jaguars, Harry McLean and George Lee, ex-Phantoms. As I joined my crew standing around our small table in Virgin Operations, part of Queen's building at Heathrow, it was quite a crowd, as there were 4 of us. When we started flights to the Fragrant Harbour, as its name was when literally translated from the local pronunciation of Hong Kong as Hung Gong, the flight times were well over 15 hours, needing 2 additional pilots to take over in the cruise. After getting permission to overfly both Russia and China, we were able to take a more direct route that cut several hours off, and we only needed 1 extra pilot. Our route looked impressive. After departing, we'd head out to the southeast across Europe, northern France, southern Germany, and eastern European countries, then over Greece and Turkey, across the Middle East, northern India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, around Hainan Island, approaching Hong Kong from the southwest. I flew as a relief pilot for the outbound sector, and then as pilot non-flying, an old term for the pilot monitoring, on the way home. As the relief crew, we were generally at the beck and call of the captain, doing the walk around, looking up stuff in the manuals, checking performance calculations, and getting the last choice of the meals. When it was our turn to sit in the uncomfortably hot pilot seats, those seats had someone's backside in them for about 22 out of 24 hours a day, every day. I was directed to the right-hand seat, which automatically made me the pilot flying. First officers weren't qualified to handle the aircraft from the left seat. Apart from monitoring the aircraft systems and fuel consumption, my only duty was to climb the aircraft on schedule as we burnt fuel. However, I watched with great interest, making many notes, as the senior first officer in the left seat handled the radios as we crossed the many FIR boundaries on our long route. When required, he switched with ease from VHF to HF, entering the bun fight that was our nightmare when crossing India, when it seemed that half the world's airliners were all on the same frequency and nobody on the ground was interested. When it came time, I sat on the jump seat and watched the captain effortlessly guide our big airliner down the instrument guidance system, over Kowloon, towards the rocky checkerboard that became our cue to start the low right turn towards Kai Tak's runway 13. With our wingtips scraping the top of the apartment blocks, we lined up and touched down. Magic. Magic that was, until the ram air doors opened, dumping the residual pressurized air and allowing the almighty stink of the sewage that filled the waters around the runway to enter the cabin. After a couple of days off enjoying the sights, sounds and smells of Hong Kong, it was time to get going home. We had a late-night departure, mainly to take advantage of the cooler air temperatures, because we could only depart from runway 13. If we'd tried to get airborne from 31 towards the city and the high ground beyond, the loss of an engine would likely have spelled disaster. We took great care calculating our performance and had special performance tables that read down to single knots of wind speed and single degrees of temperature. When we launched and left the end of the runway, just before reaching the harbour, we flew into the inky blackness of the gap between the mainland and Hong Kong Island. We'd briefed and were prepared for the black hole visual phenomenon that was likely, and I just glued my eyes to the instruments as we climbed out. Setting course for home, we lost a fuel control and monitoring computer, as well as a flight management and guidance computer. But after resetting them, we continued merrily on our way, with our passengers in the back none the wiser. On the 340, we did lots of these ultra-long, heavy crew trips, where 4 pilots tried to share the 2 landings available, so it was common that some of us failed to get our required number of landings every 30 days, and I quickly fell foul of this problem. Once we ran out of recency, we were still allowed to fly, just not operate as the pilot flying, unless we were beside a training captain. 10 sectors in a row as a relief pilot, or pilot non-flying, and I needed either a simulator session or more base training, as I had been caught in the trap of needing 3 landings to re-qualify. Life had suddenly become very tedious. Luckily for me, I discovered there was a space available on a base training flight down to Marcel Dassault Airport in France, and I wheedled myself onto it to get my landings. Not needing another one for a month, I went to the back of the queue whenever a captain asked, "Who needs a landing this trip?" And I quickly learned not to be backwards in coming forwards, but they were still as rare as hen's teeth. Then I got really lucky. To do a landing in Hong Kong off the IGS onto runway 13 required us to demonstrate 3 satisfactory landings overseen by a training captain. It was hard enough to get any landings at all, but to get 3 beside a training captain was close to impossible, so I was delighted to get my first. Down the IGS we came with a strong tailwind, so I had to keep my descent rate high just to stay on the glide path. What's more, the tailwind would turn into a slackening crosswind as soon as I started to turn to line up with the runway, so I had to make that turn promptly and with a good 30 degrees of bank, or I'd be blown through the center line. And I had to reduce my descent rate, or I'd dip into the reds on the pappies and be sent around. How did it go? Sorry, I've run out of time. Tune in next time for another logbook tale.
Gosh, I hate it when that happens. You ran out of time. We'll never know how it turned out.
I know. I could die between this and the next one.
Well, I think we know that you didn't. Because you're here.
By the way, I just realized it was a tightening crosswind, not a slackening crosswind. I made a mistake there. Oops.
I
50%.
don't think anybody would have ever noticed.
Yeah, well, I was going, hang on a minute. No, that's a... anyway.
Yeah, that's Liz was thinking, I don't think that's right. Yeah. Always a pleasure to hear all of your great stories from the logbook. And of course, this is not the RAF Form 414 anymore. It was a civilian logbook.
Well, I was still filling it out in my Air Force logbook.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's still in my Air Force logbook. After a while, I
see.
filled that logbook up, and I will then stop.
Well, Captain Nick did a wonderful job of keeping up with his, logging all of his great flights and adventures. And so in the future here that we're in now, he can look back and remember fondly, mostly, all of the things that happened in his career of flying. I, on the other hand, as soon as I was hired by Delta Airlines, stopped entering anything into my logbook, thinking that if there's any reason why I have to have a logbook to show any other potential airline, to get hired, then things are pretty bad, So, yeah. It did work out for me.
Good job.
Knock on wood, or whatever this is. It's not wood. I don't know what it is. Anyway, it's always great stuff. Thank you so much, Captain Nick. I know you're probably thinking, who wants to hear about this stuff? But we all do. It's pretty pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
All right. Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, even though now we have buku amounts of feedback, we promise we're going to cover more feedback on the next show. So hang in there. And for now, though, we're going to wrap it up by pointing you to the airlinepilotguy.com website, where you'll find all kinds of information, most of it out of date. But we keep saying we're going to fix it someday. And there's a good chance that we might actually.
I might even make it on there one day.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. You're still kind of on probation, though, AJ. So I wouldn't be pushing it if I were you.
I'm never expecting to get off probation, so that's fine.
Okay. And also, we're on social media.
Yeah, I'll do it this week. How's that? Facebook, if you're a Facebooker, look for us on the, just do a search for Airline Pilot Guy. You'll find us. On X, we're at APG. Instagram, we have the handle just APG Crew. Yeah, I'm sorry. Liz is on the ball. X, we're at APG Crew, and that's the same on Instagram. YouTube.com, you can find us at /Airline Pilot Guy.
Very good. And you know what? Since Hillel was with us earlier and just coming out of the shower to join us for the regular part of the show, he's gone now. But fortunately for you, I have a recording of him telling you how you can join the Slack community.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you so much, Hillel, for that and managing the Slack, all the Slackers out there. That's our Slack master, Hillel. And we would also like to thank our producer who has joined us here in the live.
Great.
Well, she's been there the whole time, behind the scenes. But
No,
now
she
you see
didn't.
her.
She skived off
Well, we didn't want to.
halfway through.
We didn't want to tattle on her, but okay. Yeah. So thank you very much, Liz, for all the work that you put in, and
Thanks for all
we do
the
appreciate
feedback,
it.
everybody.
Yeah. And we'd also like to thank our live audience. It's always a pleasure to see so many of you each and every week, and you really add a lot to the show. So, again,
Especially
we
that
love you.
main man Micah. I like what
Except
he adds
what?
to the show.
What,
Except
you
that
like
main
what
man
he
Micah.
adds?
I really like what he adds to the show.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
All his
And-
snarky comments.
Oh, yeah. You're plugging that nice comment that he made again about you? Okay, I see. All right. And with that, I guess we're going to look forward to seeing you again next week sometime. Not sure yet, but have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we'll hope to see you again here next week. And with that, we're going to wish you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care. God bless.
Ta-ta for now.
You're welcome.
See you next time.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yay.
Yay, that was a good one.
Good job.
Great
Was
having
was
Hillel on.
my microphone discipline better, Jeff?
Yes, it was much better.
Very good.
Now we have to work on Hillel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant to ask him.
Chat room,
He's gone
show
now,
title.
but because I'm thinking that his microphone's a end address microphone, but he was like using it like a side address, so it just sounded weird to me. Anyway,
Great to have you.
When I side address, I address to the right.
do you? Okay, that's good. Good to know. Not really, but thank you for
That'll
sharing.
be cut out in post.
Mhm.
So I have a couple of suggestions for titles, but anyway.
Oh, well done.
They're kind of pathetic, but here we go. Surprise ejection.
At least you're honest about it.
Surprise
what?
ejection. Ejection.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you said something else.
I know you did. Surprise ejection. Getting hosed. So the plane that got the hose in the engine, or getting hosed. Open door policy. That pilot had the open door policy there on his flight with his family.
All right, yeah.
He did, yeah.
And that's kind of all I got because
How did premature ejection not make it onto this list?
Oh,
But it
That's a good one.
It wasn't premature. They just landed.
Yeah, it was very, very
Oh, I
premature.
like premature.
Well, I mean, you could make it work that way, right? If there were going to be
no
an injection
idea how
later
to-
in the flight,
how to visually
it's a
depict that without it going suddenly.
Yeah, let's probably a good idea to stay away from that.
have your challenge.
I like the surprise better for Nick. Oh, surprise!
That's
By the
true.
way, there's a joke with our squadron because one of the squadron pilots they managed to shut down both engines in the circuit. Long story, and they both ejected from a perfectly serviceable airplane, except that he shut the engines down. And they were in hospital, and the navigator was in his room, and a nurse came in, and she was a very young girl, and she said, "Oh, are you the pilot who ejaculated?"
One of many.
Yeah.
There's still a little dizzy.
Little
like,
pilots
have I?
everywhere.
Tim's suggestion for the
Oh, I didn't notice.
There's Tim's suggestion for the title is "Pop Goes the Weasel."
Pop goes the weasel.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't get to. I kind of came in at the end of that story a little bit, but you were talking about the forces of the ejection in the L-39. It's a 0-0 seat, and it's
Yep.
like it's between 17 and 20 Gs.
Yeah, that'll knock you back.
It'll bend things.
Yeah.
Does Nigel have chronic back problems from his ejection?
He's had some major back surgery, yes,
Has
a lot
he?
of which
Yeah.
he's had to fund for himself. But
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
oh yeah.
But nothing
'cause,
like
you know,
all the
taller you
problems he
are.
has with his brain. You know. Hey, that was for you, Nige, because he always complains on that feedback that we had from him that I'm always giving him a bad time, and
That's true.
I just have to keep.
just
you know,
had to
I keep-
live
have
up
keep
to
doing
that
it. Yeah, I have to live up to that.
Because
Nick,
he was almost as tall as I am, and of course, after his ejection, he had shrunk about 2 inches.
He's a midget.
Yeah.
Nick, any of the fighters that you flew, were they all command ejection or not?
Phantom wasn't when I joined it. They eventually modified it for that. The Hawk
Was it a block ejection? So the L-39, if the back seater pulls and the front seater pulls a second later or half a second later, it stops the front seat from going out until the back seat is all the way out.
We could kill our navigators by ejecting at the same time. So it used to be the command eject, 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 and they said whatever you do, don't say eject, 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 and then pull your handle because you'll kill your navigator, because he'll hear the command and he'll eject. Either just eject and he'll get the idea that it's time to leave the airplane, or wait about 2 or 3 seconds for him to go before
he's still
you
there.
pull your handle. Because your canopy would come off and hit him in the face as his seat left the aircraft.
Right. Well, so that's the same kind of idea with the L-39. The back seater has to go first, because otherwise, if the front canopy goes, you now have a wind tunnel that's right at your face, going however many hundreds of knots.
And also, some
And the
aircraft,
rocket
the
blast.
Phantom in the early days, the canopy ejector cartridges weren't powerful enough to stop the navigator's canopy from sticking down.
Oh,
And unless
no.
that canopy went off clean and flew away, his seat wouldn't fire. So
That's the L-39 has the same thing. It's got a lanyard that pulls the last pin that's attached to the canopy. So when the canopy goes, that cable unwinds for 15, 20 feet, whatever it is, and yanks that pin, and then the seat fires.
Yep. So it was very easy to kill your navigator, but we didn't think much of them. They weren't, worth keeping alive. For very
Navigators
long.
are cheap.
So they are. You could always get another navigator.
Expendable. Yeah. Collateral damage.
Thanks,
Very
everybody,
joking.
for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks
Oh,
everybody.
hang on a moment. Any suggestions from on the chat room? Not one suggestion.
Pop Goes the Weasel was the only one from.
Okay. Oh yeah, Tim. Well done,
Tim.
Tim. Thanks for that.
He's not only sitting in a medical conference, he's giving us some ideas there.
He's popping his weasel.
He's getting a sponge bath from a beautiful nurse, I think. I think I read that somewhere. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Do you think you got
All right.
something?
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
everybody, bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. See you next week.